Hi guys, what is up, what is good, what is Gucci? It is your girl Paige Christie here, bringing you yet another video. Now today we are going to be talking about the whole mysterious tea drama that took place way back when. So if you guys don't remember, back in 2021, I do believe it's September 2021, I made a video called The Mysterious Case of Trisha Paytas. Now, if you remember, that video was dislike bombed to hell. So many people did not want to hear what it is that I had to say, but I always felt, regardless of how many people had told me to take down that video, that what I was feeling in my gut was right. A content creator by the name of Dramatology made a video, I think it's about 3 weeks old, and me and my family here on Twitch, as you guys can see the comments over here, me and my family here on Twitch, we just watched the entire video and we are absolutely shocked and saddened at the lengths that Mysterious Tea has gone to try and discredit victims of CSA. Trisha Paytas was not the only one. There are numerous other individuals that she has tried to be Captain Save-A-Ho for, and as far as we're concerned, I think the general consensus is pretty known in this chat. We are disgusted. So we want to do whatever it is that we can to amplify this video. So obviously this isn't my normal style of content. Usually I don't post my restreams up onto YouTube, but we felt in this situation it was extremely important. So without further ado, please keep your ears open and listen to this very long reaction to Dramatology's video. Today's video is proudly sponsored by Toon Blast. Toon Blast is a free-to-play mobile game available on all devices, where you have to solve puzzles by blasting cubes and creating powerful combos to pass the levels. There are 7,000 fun levels to choose from with great graphics and cute characters and smooth animations, and your job is to help the Toon Gang travel around magical worlds. There is even an option to join another team to work with other players and unlock awesome rewards. There are also these really fun and challenging mini games where you can play them to earn even more rewards. I personally love how immersive this game is because it allows you to play with others around the world in challenging events to win even more great prizes. And the best thing about this game is there is no Wi-Fi needed to play the game, so you can play it anywhere, anytime, and there are absolutely no ads to disrupt your gameplay. The game is incredibly easy to learn. Now, the one thing I really enjoy about Toon Blast is the fact that it really gives my brain a mental workout. Sometimes we can get into the monotony of just constantly scrolling and swiping, but this causes me to critically think. I have to think about what move I'm making and what move I'm about to do next, giving my brain that much needed workout. But you don't have to take my word for it. This game has millions of reviews with high ratings, and you can find it on the Apple Store as well as Google Play. Download the game through my link and you guys will receive 100 free coins as well as 3 hours of unlimited lives. So download the link from my description box down below or my pinned comment, or simply you can just scan this QR code over here. So everyone has been telling me that I need to take a look at this video by a content creator called Dramatology. They have 97 subscribers, and this video still, after 3 weeks, only has 2.2 thousand views. And apparently it is confirming, I guess, or cataloging all of the things it is that I said in my Trisha Paytas video. This video got dislike bombed to absolute oblivion. Whilst it has 3.5 thousand likes, I think the dislikes are probably close to 10,000, girl. It was crazy. Apparently, according to Kat Tembar, she was doing a story to do with Trisha Paytas, so she was researching and stuff. According to Kat Tembar, there's screenshots and receipts of people from the Trisha's wifeys or Trishy Land or whatever you want to call it, who were all clubbing together to dislike bomb the video and stuff like that. So I didn't realize that there was an active kind of brigading activity that was taking place at the time, but apparently that was what was going on as well. And so many comments in this is just horrendous. Not only just dragging me, but just also just flat out calling me a liar. And I never deleted this video. Over a year ago now, I never deleted this video, because if I believe something to be true and I believe something to be fair, then it's going to stay out there. And I'm going to say this just for the bitches in the back. Whilst Trisha Paytas has been a problematic individual, under no circumstances, whether you believe Trisha or don't believe her, whether you like her or don't dislike her, can anybody sit there and tell somebody that they are not allowed to speak their personal truth on their personal assault stories? People are writing justice for Mr. Riney under every friggin' post it is that Trisha Paytas puts out there. The hate train for Trisha was absolutely insane. And I think it made a lot of people, even today, I think it's made a lot of people who dislike Trisha go, holy fuck, that's wild. People were calling ICE on Moses. People were finding out what schools Malibu was going to be attending within like the local radius of their house. People were finding out the fertility clinic that Trisha was at to get fertility treatment to help her give birth and stuff. And they were basically telling the doctors, who have like HIPAA oaths that they have to abide by, to like no longer help Trisha procreate. The people out there were acting wild. And whilst Trishy's wifeys, or what do you call it, Trisha Land people, want to sit down and say, oh, we don't do this, they did it. And they did it frequently and often. And it's catalogued and documented. And trust me, bitch, I have a full-blown document full of receipts of you guys just acting wild. But this has gone on for years and years, to the point that somebody who went to Trisha Paytas' school, who verified her claims from their own personal quote-unquote witness statement, they turned around and not only ran this girl off the internet, but also called this girl a liar, and then also pretended that the girl didn't even exist. And even when I verifiably proved that this girl does exist, they still ran with the narrative that Trisha Paytas was lying about Mr. Riney being weird in any capacity, which is unfair, because Trisha had somebody from her school come and verify that. 2 people from her school, actually, come and verify that. And I stood 10 toes behind my research. My research team at the time, I've got a different research team now, but my research team at the time did the damn thing with this story. And I believe everything that I said to be fair. So let's take a look at this video, because people have been asking me to watch it. It is an AI voiceover, so I'll just try not to fall asleep, guys, because this is the only thing that's making me go, I don't want to watch this, because it's like an AI voiceover, and I'm going to put it at 1.25 speed, and we'll just take a look at it and see what it's about.
Today, we're going to stand in truth as we shine a light on a dark situation, tainted by blatant lies and victim blaming. In September of 2021, a relatively unknown creator named Mysterious, who had less than 15,000 followers at the time, uploaded a video to YouTube, accusing internet personality Trisha Paytas of falsely accusing her 6th grade teacher of CSA. When a second victim, named Morgan...
Oh, also, if you guys don't remember, thank you so much for following. Also, if you guys don't remember, a lot of the videos that Mysterious made about Adam McIntyre have also miraculously disappeared, because Mysterious not only despised Adam McIntyre, but also called him a liar for several years after the whole Colleen Ballinger situation. This person is also a huge Shane Dawson fan, and they had nothing but positivity to say about Trisha Paytas, but the moment that Trisha Paytas no longer was friends with Shane Dawson, all of a sudden they had so much to say. So that just gives you kind of an overarching viewpoint of what this person is all about.
Came forward with her own allegations of being touched inappropriately by the same teacher as Trisha. Mysterious made a series of videos and live streams accusing them both of lying. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how Mysterious, who was a Shane Dawson stan, out for revenge after Trisha and Shane had a public falling out, managed to capitalize on an already existing hate mob, and successfully manipulated thousands of people into calling for justice for a man who more than one person has said touched them inappropriately as children. I'll be showing you evidence that Mysterious not only lied, but also created fake evidence, and used several deceptive tactics in order.
Girl, not fake evidence. Not fake evidence. That I wasn't expecting. I thought there was like a narrative twisting situation going on, but not fake evidence, girl. Honestly, it should be like the Paytas effect, where a community of people go insane over a single person and try to destroy them. 100%, girl. Like kind of like the Streisand effect, very that.
To discredit multiple CSA victims for her own personal and financial gain. Before I show you all.
Wait, Katie Lady says, I think she doctored one screenshot. Fuck. Okay, let's see.
The ways Mysterious was acting in bad faith, let's take a look at where it all began. During episode 17 of the Frenemies podcast, Trisha talked about a middle school teacher that touched her inappropriately when she was just 12 years old. She said the teacher's name, which I'll be referring to as Mr. R, and said that he eventually ended up getting arrested.
My 6th grade teacher, yeah, I talked about it on TikTok, the one that used to molest me. We'd play like heads down, and he'd come around and like grab my breast. He did get arrested. His name was...
A couple months later, she had this to say about him.
I had an incident happen in middle school where a teacher like groped my boobs all the time when we would do like heads down, 7 up. That game like heads down, 7 up, whatever. And you had to like put your head down, or when you were done with the test, but whatever. And so he'd come around and like always like groping whatever. And so I finally, he did get arrested. This guy actually did get arrested, but later on.
A couple weeks later, on March 19th, Trisha uploaded a TikTok reiterating the teacher's name, who essayed her as a child. Years after he was her teacher, in an incident unrelated to her, she said he was arrested for watching CP on his computer at school.
Someone else spoke up years later and he ended up getting arrested. Byron, Illinois. Look it up. His name is Mr. Wright. They're looking up CP at school.
In Trisha's TikTok, she said people can look up the article for themselves. At the time, the article she was referencing was at the top of Google's search results. If you were to Google, Byron, Illinois middle school teacher arrested. The article itself was behind a paywall and had a title that reads as if her teacher was arrested for CP, but it was actually about a different person. There's no indication Trisha purchased the article, read it, and knew it was about someone other than her teacher. In fact, if Trisha knew the article was about someone else, it would seem very unlikely that she'd be urging everyone to go look it up. Trisha made 2 separate allegations about Mr. R. The first allegation is that he touched her inappropriately when she was his student. The second allegation is that years after he was her teacher, he was arrested for watching CP on his computer at school. I can't stress enough how extremely important it is to keep in mind that the allegation about him being arrested after he was her teacher has nothing to do with Trisha's essay allegation against him. The arrest allegation was always about something that was completely unrelated to Trisha, and completely unrelated to her essay allegation against him. That situation happened after he was her teacher, and didn't involve Trisha in any kind of way. So once again, these are 2 completely different.
So basically, because she got it wrong, right? Because I detailed it in my video, that if at that time, this is like a year and a half ago, right? At that time, if you were to search on Google, Mr. Riney, Byron, Illinois school teacher, whatever, right, into the Google search, the top search came up with a school teacher by the name of Mr. Riney who had been caught with CP on the school computers or something like that. And it was the title. But if you read the article, which I ended up finding on a Wayback Machine and having a look through the article myself, I didn't pay for the article, but having a look through the article myself, you can see that it was never anything to do with the same Mr. Riney. So I think that what happened is Trisha saw that, took it on face value and thought to herself, oh, thank God he's been caught, right? And ran to the internet to tell the internet. But that information was incorrect. That's where the whole justice for Mr. Riney thing comes in, is that she got one piece of information incorrect, whereas Trisha was talking about her personal experience with this particular teacher, and she's spoken about it numerous times, and the story never deviated. It was the same story of heads down, thumbs up. And girl, I'm getting angry even just thinking about this. Even down to like heads down, thumbs up, right? She went, oh, this is how the game is played. And her version of the game isn't even the same version I grew up with. Right? There's various different ways that you can play that game. But she was saying, oh, her version of the game doesn't align with what the game rules are. And I'm just like, but the way we played it in school was exactly the way that Trisha indicated that she played it. But she used that as evidence that Trisha, again, was lying. And it's like nitpicking stupid little stuff to just completely devalue what it is that Trisha's trying to say, which is, this is my story. You don't have to like me, but you do have to respect me and this story.
Different allegations. It's important to keep that in mind because later in the video, you'll find out that Trisha had her information mixed up, and he wasn't arrested, he was fired, as has been clarified by multiple verifiable former students. Mysterious tried to use the fact that he wasn't arrested to discredit Trisha's essay allegation against him, even though one allegation never had anything to do with the other. Before getting into the receipts, exposing the multitude of ways Mysterious manipulated and lied to her viewers, I want to give a little background information for those who may not be familiar with who she is. According to Mysterious, she first learned to edit YouTube videos after she created a YouTube channel for her young daughter. She described the channel as a slime channel, where her daughter would review and play with slime, and Mysterious would edit the videos. According to Mysterious, her daughter was the sole star of the channel, and she had thousands of subscribers. Mysterious tried, to no avail, to monetize her young daughter's channel, and said even though her channel had more than enough subscribers and watch hours to qualify for monetization, YouTube still refused to monetize it. Mysterious said they eventually ended up abandoning the channel and then deleting it.
I really don't agree with putting your child online. My daughter had a YouTube channel. She doesn't have it anymore. She had a YouTube. It wasn't a family vlog channel. We never made money on the channel. She did have like thousands of subscribers, but the channel was never monetized. Like she got on YouTube when YouTube like really got strict with videos that contained children in them. And her channel was like a slime channel, like a review channel. Like she would review like slimes, or we would make slime. It was kind of a channel like that. And I would edit it. You guys got to protect the kiddos. Wish all parents were like that. Unfortunately, they put them on YouTube and exploit them. Yes, they do. Now I'm gonna be honest. My daughter did have a YouTube channel, and she did like slime. You know, like the channels like the Sis versus Bros back in the day, and there were some other ones that I can't think of anymore, but she was really into those channels, and we made like a slime channel. And I mean, she got like a pretty decent following on it, time where YouTube was like really getting strict about kids content. So she never got monetized, even though she had the watch time and the subscribers. I tried to monetize it. I was going to like put it into an account for her. I was helping her edit them. That's how I learned how to edit, was because of her channel. But YouTube would never monetize us. I don't know why. She qualified for it when they started getting real strict. They started turning comments off. They did all kinds of stuff.
It's also worth noting, you just heard Mysterious shame other parents for putting their kids on social media, even though she had her daughter on YouTube. But YouTube isn't the only social media she consented to her daughter being on. She also said her daughter had
Girl, they're going deep. They're going deep in this one, girl. I didn't know anything about this.
tens of thousands of followers on TikTok, despite the fact that her daughter didn't meet the age requirements to even have a TikTok account in the first place.
What does my daughter think of all this? She knows I have a channel. She doesn't watch any of it. I mean, she thinks it's crazy that I blew up online. she's jealous of my subscriber count. She blew up on TikTok, and I think I have more. She blew up, and I think she got like 35K on TikTok or something like that. And then they were shutting down a bunch of accounts on TikTok, and then I've kind of passed her and my followers. So she's like, it's not fair.
Sometime after trying and failing to monetize her daughter's channel, Mysterious in June of 2020 started her own YouTube channel. Mysterious was a huge Shane Dawson stan.
It's so hard to deal with the fact that people are being so mean and hateful towards him, because he really does truly care about every single person out there. Whether they like him or they don't like him, he cares about everybody.
She continued being a star.
Girl, are we talking about the same Shane Dawson? Girl.
Staunch supporter, even throughout his cancellation for racist and inappropriate videos that included things such as the sexualization of minors. Mysterious would even use her platforms to make excuses for Shane's inappropriate videos.
The clips you see online, they're characters that he played in multiple different skits. And whether or not he looks like his everyday self or not, he was always in character. Now, he did some things that were really off the wall and just inexcusable because he liked to shock people. But it doesn't make him a bad person, because underneath that character and underneath all of that, he is a great, great human being.
She often hyped creators who had shown support toward Shane during his cancellation.
Okay, so there's this. I like her. Thank you at Trisha Paytas for being a great friend to Shane Dawson. You are the only one that has stuck up for him the entire time. So happy Shane has people like you in his corner. Oh, yikes. They're pulling them all up, girl.
Meanwhile, many of the people Mysterious would target and attack in her videos were creators that were critical of Shane. Adam McIntyre is just one example of that, out of many. Adam was only 17 years old when Mysterious started targeting him, after he began making content that was critical of Shane. She made around a dozen videos about Adam and would regularly tweet about him. After putting out a pro-Shane video, during the middle of his cancellation, Shane started following Mysterious on Twitter, and even DM'd her. Less than 2 months after Shane started following Mysterious on Twitter, him and Trisha had a public falling out. Within just a few days of Trisha and Shane falling out, Mysterious went from being someone who would defend Trisha to calling her pure evil. Like so many of Mysterious's prior targets, Trisha committed the cardinal sin of calling out Shane Dawson. From then on, Mysterious seemed to become fixated on Trisha and relentlessly started going after her on Twitter. Within 2 weeks of Trisha and Shane falling out, Mysterious put out her first video going after Trisha, and just a few weeks after that, she put out another one. She continued going after Trisha on Twitter, and her fixation on seemingly wanting to punish her for what she felt Trisha did to Shane only seemed to grow. Mysterious began targeting Ethan Klein as well, who co-hosted a podcast with Trisha called Frenemies. Mysterious would regularly defend controversial creators that Ethan and Trisha discussed on the podcast.
It's like at Keemstar Spitting Facts Part 2. He is the only big platform I respect right now because all these other channels enjoy that hashtag blood money.
Podcast. Even though these creators had their own checkered pasts and had done some of the very same things she was accusing Trisha of, and in some cases, even worse things than what she was attacking Trisha for, which speaks volumes about Mysterious's actual motives.
Girl, post after post about David at Trisha Paytas. What are you trying to do? Push him to suicide? Because he lost everything and you and your crew keep digging shit up. What is the end result of this? Girl, I don't know. Be more good with your platform. The fuck? Oh, wow. I did not know this. Girl, they're digging up everything. God damn.
During this time, Mysterious also began doing research for yet another Trisha Paytas series she was wanting to make. She even purchased one of Trisha's books and read it twice, with what seems like the sole intention of trying to find things she could use against Trisha in her quest to get revenge. In May of 2021, just a few months before Mysterious released the first 2 episodes of her new Trisha Paytas series, she expressed that the number one thing people bring up in Trisha's defense are her mental health and the trauma she's experienced. It has not gone unnoticed by me that out of all of the things Mysterious could have chosen to go after Trisha for, the first 2 videos in her series are trying to discredit Trisha's mental health issues and her traumas. That does not seem like a coincidence to me. I personally believe, after she came to the conclusion that those were the things people sympathized with Trisha the most, that in an act of bad faith, Mysterious specifically designed the first 2 episodes to target those 2 things. In July of 2021, Mysterious tweeted that she should turn toxic for a month straight and go with every narrative that comes her way, regardless if it goes against her morals. She said she bets she could form her very own hate mob and earn herself a lot of blood money.
Girl, what the fuck? I should turn toxic for a month straight, go with every online narrative that comes my way, regardless if it goes against my morals. I bet I could form my own little hate mob and my conscience would eat me alive. But you know, silver lining, ? Would make a lot of blood money. Upside down smiley face. Child.
For context, Mysterious had previously referred to the money influencers make from covering topics, such as essay allegations, as blood money. In March of 2021, a friend of Mysterious, named Nactor, tweeted at Adam McIntyre, Ethan Klein,
Oh God, that's another I can't stand, Jesus Christ.
And Cat 10 Barge that they're trying to profit off topics surrounding essay, and that he thinks it's evil and blood money. Mysterious agreed with him and said it's disgusting and that it's blood money. So before Mysterious was planning to target Trisha's traumas, she criticized others for discussing situations revolving around essay allegations, and said it was evil and blood money. But conveniently, a few weeks before releasing the first episode of her new Trisha series, she suddenly had a change of heart about doing it herself, and seemed to like the idea of possibly forming her very own hate mob, and earning her very own blood money. She clearly wasn't joking about going toxic, as she called it, because just a few weeks later, on August 3rd of 2021, she released the first episode of her Trisha Paytas series.
Girl, so like a month later. So that happened in July, and then a month later, so she made that tweet about going toxic and following any narrative that goes her way, and then like a month later, the dark side of Trisha Paytas comes out. Wild, bro.
Series. And 1 month later, on September 7th, she released the second episode, The Dark Side of Trisha Paytas, which is the episode I'm going to be discussing in this video, as well as the subsequent live streams made by Mysterious. In episode 2 of Mysterious series, she accused Trisha of lying about her middle school teacher essaying her. In subsequent live streams as well as an updated episode 2, she accused another former student of lying about the same teacher. They aren't the only victims that Mysterious has invalidated. Mysterious actually has a long pattern of being callous in regard to victims. I'm going to go over some of those instances. In March of 2021, Insider published an article detailing the experience of a woman known as Hannah, who said during the filming of a David Dobrik vlog, she was supplied alcohol by vlog squad members, even though she wasn't legally of age. She was then R-worded while she was blacked out and too inebriated to consent by a YouTuber who goes by the name Dirty Dom. Mysterious attacked the credibility of Insider, as well as the credibility of the journalist who broke the story, Cat 10 Barge. Mysterious casted doubt on Hannah's allegations by saying, "This whole thing feels weird. This girl brought more attention on herself by going to Insider versus going to the police. I don't get that at all." I want to take a moment to address Mysterious saying she doesn't understand why Hannah didn't go to the police, because this is something Mysterious has said multiple times in regard to multiple victims. There are many reasons why a victim might choose not to report their assault to the police. Just some of those reasons include the fear of retaliation, shame, the assault being downplayed to the victim, or the victim being coerced into believing the assault was not significant enough to report, believing that the police could or would not do anything to help, not wanting friends and family to know what happened, fear of the justice system, fear of lack of evidence, feeling that too much time has passed, self-blame, the fear of not being believed. That's just scratching the surface of why someone might choose not to go to the police. When it comes to herself, Mysterious understands the kind of toll it can take on your mental health, and how scary going through an entire court process can be.
It's hard to go to court. I had to go in a court case with my ex. Going through a whole court process is so draining and it's scary. And
that would probably be the reason why somebody doesn't want to come forward, because they know how much of an emotional toll it's going to be to constantly re-traumatize yourself, to constantly tell your story. Valid reason. You understand when it's you, though. Okay.
It's just a lot. Most of the time, it's so like he said, she said stuff, because there's only 2 people that were there on stuff. So a lot of it's really hard to prove as well. So it's just, when you go in court as a victim, you feel like you're the one that's on trial.
However, when it comes to victims of SA, she often showed no compassion for those who didn't go to the police, and would even go as far as using it as a point of criticism and even skepticism. On average, out of every 1,000 SAs, only 310 are reported to the police. Out of those 310 SAs that are reported to the police, only 25 will go to prison. Going to the police can be a re-traumatizing process that sadly rarely results in a conviction. Just because someone didn't go to the police doesn't mean they...
Flat Noodle says, so much for believe all women. What a horrible take Mysterious has. Adams Amesh just said, exactly. These are all things that we cover in law school. There's so many mitigating factors. She's such a hypocrite. I can't stand her. God damn.
They are less likely to be telling the truth, or that they don't deserve to have their voices heard, or that what they've experienced should never be talked about. Justice can come in many forms, and for Hannah, this was hers. Here's Mysterious again, questioning why Hannah didn't go to the cops. Here's Mysterious, saying that excusing an SA victim for not going to the police is discrediting the justice system. And then Mysterious...
Like, the justice system's been perfect, girl. There are loads of people who haven't had their day in court. That's why we have to applaud when it happens. Like that kid from the 70s show. Good. 30 years to life. I hope you rot in there. Because 9 times out of 10, it never gets done. Half the reason that so many of the victims' voices from, what do you call it? That guy, the black guy.
R. Kelly?
No, not R. Kelly, the other one. The old black guy.
Oh, fuck.
Huxtable. What's his name? Bill Cosby. Thank you. Bill Cosby. Even with Bill Cosby, what ended up happening was so many people had come forward, but the statute of limitations had ran out. However, there was one victim whose statute of limitations had not run out. And when they finally came forward with their story, then the other victims' events and things it is that they'd said that happened, that all correlated. None of these women knew each other. They're all correlated with each other. Same story. He drugged me and then he did X, Y, and Z. All came to help that one case, right? So there's loads of different reasons, loads of different factors. And it's just so annoying that people are like, oh, you know, this is discrediting the justice system. Girl, the justice system fails so many people. I don't think when it comes to child sexual assault, I don't think there should be a statute of limitations, quite frankly. Especially when it comes to child sexual assault. I think if you are 60 years old, you should be free to come forward and talk about it. It's that same statute of limitations on CSA bullshit that allowed people like, what's his name? The one from Leeds. That predator.
Jimmy Savile.
Yeah, the statute of limitations is the same reason why Jimmy Savile was able to get away with it until he died. People only started speaking about their personal experiences with him in the BBC after he passed away. Predators are dying with statues in the centre of Leeds city centre for all of their good and hard work, helping the hospitals raise money, where we would go into those hospitals and molest those children. You had rooms in these hospitals. And they would send dying children to go visit Mr. Jimmy Savile, where they were 8 years old and recalling, sorry to be vulgar and trigger warning, where they would recall him trying to force himself inside their anus and them trying to poo him out. This man died a hero. He got an MBE from the Queen because the statute of limitations was up and many of the people who were his victims were in their 60s.
He was Sir Jimmy Savile.
He was Sir Jimmy Savile. Knighted by the Queen. He died a hero. The justice system can suck sometimes. Okay, sis?
Places blame on victims, not the perpetrator, if the person who essayed them hurts other people. She also said it opens the door for people to clout chase. Here she is, passing judgment on Hannah, for there not being a police report. Here's Mysterious condemning Hannah, for going to an investigative journalist, rather than the police. In these tweets, Mysterious is acting like there's some big conspiracy theory surrounding Hannah's allegations. Here's Mysterious saying it's getting out of hand with victims coming forward, while implying she doesn't believe them. On February 12, 2021, Seth, who is a former member of the Vlog Squad, called into the H3 podcast and spoke about being traumatized after what he described as being essayed by another Vlog Squad member, Jason Nash, during 2 of David Dobrik's videos.
I was literally like just getting off a flight, just got into town. I was like super exhausted from traveling. I go over to David's apartment. Well, he calls me to come over. He's like, yo, can you come over? Like, I need you for a bit. And this is kind of like when I was, just starting to kind of hang out with him. So I'm just like, okay, David's like asking for something that seems pretty serious. He must really need me there. So I'm going to go and I'm going to, instead of just going home getting some rest, I'm going to stop by his apartment and then I'm going to go home. And I get into the room. David, he's a very convincing person. He was very calm and everything seemed normal. And he was just like, yeah, like we just had this scene, like I want you to like make out with Corinna. And, like, are you cool with that? And I was just like, yeah, no, I'm fine with making out with Corinna. Like, that's fine. I don't understand exactly what this bit's for, but I'm just trying to basically just get it over with so I can, go home and get some rest. And then, during the video, we kind of start to make out, starts going, and then it's going on for a decent period of time. And after Jason pulls off his mask, and I realized that, I just was touched by someone that, I did not, consent to having their tongue. And I'm sorry, it is a little bit hard to kind of like talk about this because like this situation, I know a lot of people because also I'm a man coming out about something that's like a battery assault type of situation. And I really want the viewers to understand it is so incredibly tough as a man to have to say that you were assaulted by a man. The amount of trauma that you deal with, you don't even want to explain it to like your family and your friends. I'm trying to get peace with myself about being involved in something like that. And sometimes you almost victim blame yourself. You're like, well, I shouldn't have been there. Or, well, I chose to have them as friends. But, at what point is it where it's like, well, David Dobrik should not have chose to force a 50-year-old man to put his tongue into another man's mouth without their consent, man or woman.
They did a second video where they pretended to cast you in a beef jerky commercial, and then Jason comes out as a gorilla and makes out with you basically in the same style they did the first one. And he says to you, I remember specifically, he says, do I have your consent to try to get Jason to make out with you again? And so tell me about how that video kind of played out and how you feel about that second video.
Well, David was sitting there and we're sitting almost for like 20 minutes and he was talking about, he's like, yo, I want to do that prank again. I kept saying like, no, I don't want to have to go through that again. I don't want to deal with, the repercussions of having all these people know, like that other video people are just starting to forget. I just want to keep it moving and not, be involved in any sort of content like that anymore. And then David kind of keeps like, come on, man, like, how can I get your consent for this? And what people don't understand in that moment, I never gave him my consent. I said,
yeah, I did notice that.
You expecting to do something to me that I don't know that you're going to
do. That's all he.
Sorry, and also, this is like high-key coercion. If somebody says no, accept the no and keep it pushing. Like, what the This is coercion. If somebody says no, take the no and keep it pushing.
Included from you saying no? Because in your recounting of the story, you're saying you said, no, I don't want to do it. But then all he included was that clip of you saying,
how do you expect to do something to me that I don't know how you're going to do? And then after the cameras are off, because our reality isn't just 4 minutes and 20 seconds, I was telling him on the couch at the apartment, David, please don't do that again.
Oh, my God.
And then he just does it again, and he sets it up this time as this commercial where Collab is involved. I guess Jack Link's Beef Jerky was involved in it. And then also David, Jason, and this time not Corinna.
You had expressed, like, I didn't like that.
Yeah.
And so I find it really interesting because, like, the fact that he sought out to do it again to you, it has to be in some sense that he knew that you didn't like it, and that made it more entertaining to him. That he thought it was better to try to get you again because you were so unhappy about the first time.
Yeah, and you see that pattern. Someone's like, oh, I'm afraid of snakes. And then he comes in with a snake. Oh, I don't like firecrackers. Oh, we're about to put you in a room with a bunch of firecrackers.
Ironically, it's proof that he knew you didn't like it, right? It's proof that he knew that that you were not down.
In this tweet, Mysterious said that Seth was begging for it. And here, Mysterious said if Seth truly felt he was essayed.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine that on Beyonce's internet, Somebody turned around and said about a sexual assault victim, they were begging for it. And this is the voice y'all chose to stand behind. This one? This voice right here is the one y'all chose to stand behind. He told his story. He spoke about how vulnerable he felt as a man to have to come forward with this kind of a story. Because when we think about sexual assault victims, we think about women, we think about young girls. We don't think about men. Because society has this warped opinion of gender roles. But men could be sexually assaulted too. So he tells his sexual assault story. He's raw. He's honest. He's vulnerable. And you sit there and say he was begging for it? Are you okay, sis? Genuinely, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Because I'm worried now. I never knew any of this, girl. Any of this. And I've spoken about Mysterious in the past quite a few times. I never knew any of this. If Seth truly felt this way, he would have gone to the cops instead of to H3 After Dark. He explained that as a man, it's very difficult to come forward with these kind of stories. Are you okay? Like, genuinely, who hurt you? Who hurt you? I don't like that at all. The diminishing of other people's stories seems to be historic with this person. And if you can sit there and say, oh, well, I believe Seth, then fair enough. Then I want to ask you guys to really critically think if it is even fathomable or possible to believe Trisha Paytas. And if you don't believe Trisha Paytas, do you think it's fair to create an entire narrative and make a videos spanning 2.5 hours each over 3 videos trying to discombobulate what it is that somebody is saying about their own sexual assault? A sexual assault that you were neither there for or present for. No. No. Disgusting. Disgusting. Disgusting.
He would have went to the cops. On April 13th, 2021, the New York Post published this article.
Please don't tell me she spoke about the Jake Paul allegations too, girl. Stay away from sexual assault allegations, girl. Stay the away. You are the last person who needs to speak.
Covering allegations against Jake Paul by a woman named Justine, who said he essayed her in 2019. Mysterious defended Keemstar, saying this about the situation.
Hey guys, I need to do a drama alert today on the Jake Paul allegations. And quite frankly, I do not believe the alleged victim. And I don't want to just cover this real quick on...
I don't know whether they're going to mention this, but Keemstar did eventually walk back this claim because he had a very warped view of sexual assault. Sexual assault victims don't necessarily fight. Because his whole claim in this clip that we're about to watch is that, why didn't she fight him off? Why didn't she push him away? Why didn't she say no? Sometimes you have a fight. Is it fight, flight, or... freeze? Fight, flight, or freeze? And she froze. And that happens. And it's happened to me in the past where I just froze. You know what I mean? So expecting people to like actively do things is weird, especially when, you know, as a woman, you are physically weaker than a male, than a man, right? And because of that, you also have to fear about, you know, struggling and trying to fight away, and what happens if I try and fight away? Am I going to get hurt? There's loads of other things that like will cross your mind whilst the act is taking place. So sometimes you just think, because I remember speaking about it with Keemstar and Papa Gut, and I spoke about my own sexual assault situation, and I said no so many times to the point that I felt that my no meant nothing. Therefore, why am I still saying no? I said no. I said this hurts too many times to the point that I got to a place where I was like, my no means absolutely f*** all. Just wait it out and wait until it's done. That's what was going on in my brain. So it's not wild for me to think that, but after the conversation it is that Keemstar had with myself, as well as Papa Gut, he walked back these claims and re-educated himself when it came to sexual assault. Because a lot of people were bringing his daughter into it. Like, how would you feel if this was your daughter? He's like, I've taught my daughter how to handle a gun. And it's like, you're not getting it. You're not understanding. So once he understood, he did walk back this claim. I will say that.
Drama alert without getting some pushback. Maybe there's something I'm missing. Maybe I'm not seeing a certain angle to the story. That's why I'm making this Twitter video, so I can be challenged before I put it on Drama Alert in front of millions of people. But this girl is claiming that Jake Paul, was kissing her, holding her hand, led her to her room. She didn't want to do any further stuff with him. And then Jake Paul grabbed her head and started her face. And within 30 seconds, in her mouth. And she claims that she was. Now, how does that happen? Wouldn't she have to open her mouth and participate in some way for that to happen? Can't you just turn your head, or can't you just get is there some way to force?
This is such a dog shit take by him, but he did walk it back. But this was so dog shit. This was awful.
Oral on someone? I mean, she's not saying that he had a weapon and was like, you better do this. She is saying that he grabbed her head and started her face and came in her mouth. I don't understand the physics here. I don't understand how that's possible. Why? Can't you get away? Is there really no way?
The other thing is also that Keemstar as a man doesn't quite understand what it's like to be a woman and be fearful of men. You know what I mean? I think he brings up shortly, why couldn't she bite down? And I'm sitting there could you imagine? I would expect a punch. I would expect further violence on me if I was to do that. You know what I mean? He doesn't get it. He didn't get it, shall I say.
Way to get away? Is there really no way to just close your mouth and just not let the enter your mouth? I'm sorry, but I just don't believe this story at all.
On April 27th, Trisha and Ethan criticized the comments Keemstar made about Justine, which resulted in Keemstar making a Twitter thread, where among other things, he had this to say.
So then they get to Jake Paul, and there's these allegations on Jake Paul. I looked at these allegations, and I had serious questions. I had a lot of doubt on the validity of these allegations. They're hitting me with this social justice stuff where you're supposed to believe all victims. That is insanity. That is insanity.
Mysterious defended Keemstar after Trisha and Ethan called him out for his disgusting comments on the situation. On October 1st, 2020, Insider published the following article. According to the article, written by investigative journalist Kat Ten Barge, some of Jeffree Star's former friends, peers, and associates told Insider that he physically and sexually abused others at the height of his MySpace fame. Jeffree responded to the article in a YouTube video and denied the allegations. As you can see in this tweet, Mysterious believed Jeffree over the victims and referred to the article as fake news. 2 months later, Insider published another article, exposing Jeffree Star after newly leaked documents appeared to show that Jeffree had used hush money payments in the days leading up to Insider publishing its original October article in an attempt to silence one of his alleged essay victims, named Arthur, and 2 other people who had all spoken on the record to Insider for the October article. Among the leaked documents was evidence of a $45,000 cashier's check purchased by someone with the same name as the chief financial officer of Jeffree Star Cosmetics. The cashier's check was made out to Arthur.
Flat Noodle just says, Kat Ten Barge is a trashy reporter though, so I can see the point. I can understand there's a lot of people who dislike, Kat Ten Barge. But here's my thing. If she's bringing proof and receipts, stuff like this, say what you want. But if the receipts are there, and this is a genuine receipt of $45,000, if the receipts are there, then unless you've got verifiable proof to be able to discredit this, it is what it is, right? Whether you like her or not. I know a lot of people dislike her for her Amber Heard takes. Whether you like her for the Amber Heard takes or not, or whatever stupid shit that she's done in the past how many years she's been around, right? $45,000 was given to somebody around the time the article was being made, in order for them to remove their statements.
Another leaked document appeared to show the settlement agreement between Jeffree and Arthur, stipulating that Arthur would be paid $25,000 to retract the allegations he made against Jeffree to Insider, as well as an additional $20,000 if he could get 2 of Insider's other on-the-record sources to recant their statements as well. The settlement agreement appears to be signed by Jeffrey. Insider confirmed that 4 days before the cashier's check was paid out, all three, on the record sources, had reached out to Insider, attempting to retract their statements. This was just days before the October article was set to be published. Some of the other documents leaked to Insider included the receipt for the cashier's check, as well as a screenshot of a document that included Insider's sources for the article that had only been shared with Jeffrey and his lawyers at that point. Even after all of that, Mysterious still sided with Jeffrey over his victims. Earlier, I played you guys a clip of Mysterious excusing away all of Shane's inappropriate behavior, including the sexualization of minors, as just characters. Here she is defending that behavior as just jokes.
Mysterious is scum. Period. Period. Disgusting.
The family did not find Shane's sexualization of their then 11-year-old child nearly as funny as Mysterious and Shane. And here, Mysterious says she doesn't believe victims who come forward on social media because people look for attention. She said she'll only believe it when a cop says there's a victim. A Viner named Curtis Lepore was arrested in 2013 after—
Oh God, not the Jesse Smiles shit too. Girl, shut your mouth. Shut your f***ing goddamn mouth.
He admitted to R-wording Jesse Smiles on a call recorded by police. In 2014, when TMZ broke the news, Gabby made multiple tweets about it and said she didn't believe Jesse. Despite that, when Gabby and Jesse met in person at a Vine meetup later that year, they ended up becoming friends. After they had a fallout in 2015, Gabby, on multiple occasions, interacted with the person who had R-worded her former friend, Jesse. Gabby faced a lot of public backlash for her interactions with Jesse's R-worder. But not by Mysterious. Mysterious, of course, defended Gabby. In 2018, Adam McIntyre spoke about his experience with Colleen Ballinger. He spoke in much more detail about their interactions than what I'm about to show you. For the sake of time, I'm just showing a shortened version.
I discovered Miranda Sings in 2012, and I found Colleen through this.
Girl, every story of sexual assault, she has never, not once, had an ounce of compassion to believe the victim. Or to at least keep her mouth closed until further information was provided. Girl, tell me this girl was involved in the James Charles shit. Please, please, please make my day, because I will go nuts.
I went to 2 of her shows, 2016 and 2018, and met her both times. After 2016, during a live stream that I'll discuss later, me and Colleen started talking on a more personal level. Very quickly, we started talking a lot, and by 2017, we were good friends. In 2016, Colleen and Corey were doing a live stream, and they stumbled across my Twitter account. They found my tweets really funny, and this was the day before we officially started really talking.
Your Twitter account is making me laugh so much. Oh my god, that makes me laugh. I want to send him something. Do you want the bra, Adam?
Do you want the bra and panties? Tweet right now.
So I did get sent the lingerie.
Among some of the many things they would talk about, Adam said Colleen would discuss her divorce with him, and that she would even seek relationship advice from him, despite his age. A lot of people felt Colleen's friendship with Adam was inappropriate, given his incredibly young age at the time, and the power imbalance that existed between the two. Not Mysterious, though. Mysterious went after Adam multiple times, even though Adam was just a teenager at the time, and Mysterious is at least—
And girl, let me tell you, she was relentless. She was relentless as well. Relentless. The shit that Adam had to put up with from her. Relentless.
In her 30s. Mysterious took issue with Adam speaking up.
Adam McIntyre needs to leave Colleen Ballinger alone. He chopped up a clip of hers to make it look 10 times worse than it was. He has manipulated and lied about so much with her. It's seriously getting ridiculous. All right, sis. All right.
Up about his experiences with Colleen. Mysterious said she thought Adam was the one who did Colleen shady, not the other way around. She even accused him of pretending to be his mom on Twitter. Mysterious blamed Adam for some people feeling like Colleen was grooming him, rather than blaming Colleen and her actions for people feeling that way. Mysterious accused Adam, who again was just a teenager at the time, of just wanting to capitalize on his and Colleen's falling out. She called it a sad attempt to generate views. In this tweet, Mysterious even took David Dobrik's side when it came to Jeff Wittek nearly losing his life, after David was recklessly operating an excavator, causing Jeff to slam right into the side of it.
Oh my God. Literally every single, major thing that has taken place on social media, she aligns herself with the wrong side. with the wrong side every single time. Every single time. I don't know how somebody could get... Sorry, I keep having to move my nose bar because I've got a runny nose, right? I can't understand how somebody can get it wrong so many times. So many times. Adam Zemet said literally not one single major essay case or dodgy shit with kids has occurred and ended up on the internet that she hasn't opened her nasty mouth about. Girl, how can one person have this many bad takes? Yes, 100%. Inside says, because she sucks. I literally heard that in your voice.
I think what all of this establishes is that Mysterious accusing Trisha of lying about being essayed by her middle school teacher is just par for the course for Mysterious. This is something she has a history of doing. In the instances where Mysterious actually has been vocal about believing victims, not surprisingly, it's typically in situations where the person being accused is someone who isn't on good.
Okay, so James Charles committed a crime with Ethan Andrew. That's the young 14-year-old boy. And everyone just turned a blind eye. Trisha abuses her boyfriends and everyone turns a blind eye. Drama channels are platforming these people and people have to stop letting them do this. This is a major problem. Well, I mean, at least you got one right. Congratulations. You know, the perpetrator who has allegedly over 13 victims, that one you got correct. Congratulations. Round of applause to Mysterious for getting one thing right out of 50. Girl.
Terms with Shane Dawson. In those cases, Mysterious conveniently believes the victims regardless of whether or not they've gone to the police. 2 months before Mysterious released the first episode of her Trisha Paytas series, Trisha and Ethan's podcast ended, and they had a messy public falling out. A lot of H3 fans turned on Trisha and began relentlessly targeting her. Going after Trisha became a sport for many of these H3 fans. On top of it, Ethan began shouting out drama channels that were regularly posting videos that were in his favor and against Trisha's. In doing so, Ethan's fans would flock to their channels and reward the positive content about Ethan and negative content about Trisha with their views. Adam McIntyre's channel was among the channels that Ethan would shout out. He recently acknowledged that Ethan had only befriended drama channels so they would be on his side during the Frenemies fallout. He called the relationship between Ethan and the drama channels very transactional.
And I think the point as well of like being over the T channels and the drama and stuff like that, it's like, you can be over it now, that's 100% fine. But like, don't rewrite history, don't, whatever, because you really did rely on, the drama channel community for a very long time. For a very long time. I mean, that's why he befriended all of us during the time of him fighting with Trisha, so that we would all be on his side. I mean, that's what we all...
But Paige is wrong for saying that Ethan Klein's a piece of shit. Oh, I love being right. I love being right.
We'll talk about behind the scenes now. I mean, the timeline adds up. So, like, don't act like that was you being holier than holy, whatever. It was a very, very, very transactional relationship. It was very, very, very transactional with Dennis, with me, with Rich, with,
Because every time they would post a video, it would be uploaded to the H3 subreddit. People would like ogle over it like, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened. This drama channel's done this. And then all of a sudden, Trisha Paytas would receive a lot more, negative opinions and energy and all that kind of stuff. It was very transactional. The takedown of Trisha Paytas, as per Ethan Klein in the H3 community, was a very targeted attack. And nobody can tell me any different, whether you like Trisha or not. I don't care whether you care for Trisha. You have every right to think that she is a piece of shit. She's done a lot of piece of shit. But that was a very targeted attack. A very targeted attack. And a lot of people, like Adam, at the time felt that it was a justified targeted attack. But now we see how insidious this whole situation has been, especially with Ethan Klein. He wasn't just happy, destroying the relationship it is that they had together or whatever. He wanted to destroy her, period. How many times have you seen that Ethan Klein had Frenemies, the Trishy Land wifeys in his search bar, directing people to new pages because one's been closed out so many times? But no, he's not directing any hate towards Trisha. Bullshit. If you're going to do it, at least stand 10 toes and say, yeah, that bitch. I'd respect that more.
Who whoever, was that any other ones? I don't know. It was very transactional. So, what now?
Between H3 fans targeting Trisha and the drama channels targeting Trisha, it culminated in a climate where it was extremely popular to hate Trisha. At any other time, with just about any other influencer, it would typically be heavily frowned upon to try to discredit someone else's CSA from more than 20 years ago. But Mysterious Video couldn't have come at a more opportunistic time. She was able to capitalize on an already existing hate mob that was perfectly primed and frothing at the mouth to digest negative content about Trisha. The more negative, the better. These were people who were eating up every conspiracy about Trisha that was thrown their way. These are the same people who later believed Trisha was faking her own pregnancy for 9 months. So when Mysterious released her video accusing Trisha of lying about CSA, most people ate it right up and never bothered to question or challenge anything that Mysterious had said in her videos. The video received over 400,000 views, even though Mysterious didn't even have 15,000 subscribers when it was released. That's the kind of hunger people had at the time for negative content about Trisha. Mysterious went from 13,000 subscribers to nearly 50,000 in the span of a month. As a direct result of Mysterious Video, on September 10, 2021, just 3 days after the video was released, Ethan Klein showed his support for Mysterious Video by tweeting the following. It has come to my attention that Trisha, in episode number 17 of Frenemies, called out a teacher by name and accused him of molesting her during school. She claimed this teacher was arrested and served time for possession of CP. She also claimed that someone else had come forward to say he molested them as well. Upon further review, these claims seem to contradict available evidence. Ethan basically went on to say that he was unlisting episode 17 until Trisha answers for Mysterious Video. Although Ethan's tweet was mostly well received, there were at least some people who were able to recognize that what was happening was wrong, with one person tweeting, "Why not just remove it? Why post this? This isn't right." And another saying that as an assault victim, they would literally break down if someone had said that about them. And this person said that calling on Trisha to randomly defend a point of trauma is really inappropriate. Another person who replied to Ethan's tweet was a woman named Morgan. Morgan is a former classmate of Trisha's. She was in Mr. R's class the same year as Trisha. Before I show you Morgan's tweets, I want to play you some clips from Paige Christie's video, titled, The Mysterious Case of Trisha Paytas. Paige did excellent research into verifying Morgan's identity, and I think it's important, before showing her tweets, to show you that Morgan is a real person, whose allegations
Why, thank you, Dramatology. I do appreciate that.
should be taken seriously.
This classmate is called Morgan M. They can be seen in Mysterious's video showing Trisha among their classmates in the school yearbook. They went on to state that their father was the police chief of Byron and doxed his name and their full name in order to prove that they are who they say they are. Now, when you search Morgan's name, you are able to find their father and his name and that they both reside in Byron. You can also clarify that he is in fact the police chief of Byron. Morgan then went on to message friends in a group chat. There was also a girl in the chat called Rachel Redacted, who can also be found in that same middle school picture that Mysterious had posted in their original Part 2 video. Now, there are plenty of websites that bring up Morgan's father as the chief of police, and you can also find that a girl named Morgan is listed as his daughter. I myself have had a look around and been able to confirm that there is TM, the father, MM, which is Morgan, SM, their mother, and their brother, who also has the initials of MM. The reason that Morgan doesn't have the same name across all of their platforms is because Morgan_V_redacted is their maiden name. They are now, as you would imagine, like most 30-something-year-old women, married, and they now have a married name. So when you search their married name on Instagram, ding, 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 you find Morgan. You find Morgan, you find the family, you find the father, you find her husband, the cosmetics business it is that they run, tagged photos. Now, Morgan's account has been present as far as I can date back on social media from around 2012. They only deleted/deactivated their account after they allege people were contacting their father and contacting the police station, who she accidentally doxed. I don't think they really understood the magnitude of how crazy social media can really be. There are references to their Twitter handle speaking to people from Byron to other people who live in the Byron and Rockford area. This has been going on for several years. One in particular person is called Jeff Redacted, and when you go over to Morgan's husband's Instagram, in which Morgan is tagged in, one of Morgan's husband's mutual friends is this Jeff Redacted guy. However, you can't see Morgan's profile, just that Morgan was tagged by their partner, as even their maiden name handled Instagram has been taken down. So these are all real and legitimate people, and even went as far as to dox their family members to prove their legitimacy. So that, alongside me being able to locate their friends, her business, her husband, their family, their pets, as well as their married name Instagram, I can wholeheartedly conclude that Morgan Redacted is exactly who they say they are.
During my own research, I was also able to conclude that Morgan is exactly who she says she is. Now that her identity has been established, let's get into her tweets pertaining to Mr. R. Morgan said, what Trisha said about Mr. R is true. She said she went to school with Trisha, and that Mr. R wasn't arrested for CP, but he was fired for watching P at school. She said it's true that Mr. R would grab girls during Heads Up 7-Up. When Morgan said it's true that he would grab girls during Heads Up 7-Up, presumably
it didn't go along with the narrative. That's what happened. It didn't go along with the narrative. So instead of just discrediting Trisha Paytas' version of events, they now needed to discredit Morgan's version of events. And even if Morgan existed as a real, tangible human being. That's how far it went. So somebody verified that, yes, similar stuff happened with me. Yes, the thing is that Trisha said was incorrect. But what it really was is he got fired for this. And they needed to discredit her immediately. Immediately. Because then all of their brigading would have been for nothing. And they didn't like that. They didn't like that, girl.
She's talking about him grabbing girls' chests, because Morgan said, what Trisha said about it is true, and Trisha's allegation is that he would grope her chest during Heads Up 7-Up. Morgan said Mr. R would rub her shoulders while the game was being played, so nobody could see. She put the words, rub our shoulders, in quotes, implying he wasn't actually only rubbing her shoulders. Again, the implication is that he would touch her chest, under the guise that he was rubbing her shoulders. Morgan said, she was so young at the time, she wasn't able to fully grasp what he was actually doing. Morgan said her dad is the chief of police in the town her and Trisha went to school. She said if anyone needs further proof, she guarantees he remembers Mr. R being fired for watching P while students were in the classroom. Someone responded to Morgan, saying they did want to see the proof. Morgan replied that she'd text her dad at 8 in the morning and then post his response. Someone brought up Trisha saying Mr. R was arrested for CP, and Morgan reiterated that he wasn't arrested for CP, he was fired for watching P in class. Morgan went on to say that Mr. R was very handsy. She put the word very in all caps to convey just how handsy he was. Morgan shared this screenshot of a conversation between her and her dad. Morgan said she thinks it was the year he had just become chief of police, and she said to keep in mind, it was 20 years ago. Morgan asked her dad if he remembered Mr. R being fired for watching P on his computer while students were in the class. Her dad said he vaguely remembered that happening. He followed up by saying he doesn't remember specific details, but he doesn't think charges were pressed. Morgan said her dad became chief of police in the year 2000, the year she had Mr. R as a teacher. She said Mr. R was fired years later. She then quickly specified, within seconds, it was a couple years, not multiple. She even offered to get a hold of the person who was the principal at the time. Morgan went on to say she doesn't know who all Mr. R touched inappropriately, and that someone else's experience could be totally different than hers. She reiterated that Mr. R would go way too low when rubbing her shoulders. She put the word way in all caps to convey that he was not just touching her shoulders. So here she is again, implying that he would touch her chest, under the guise that he was just rubbing her shoulders. Morgan said it didn't change her life, but she said Mr. R definitely did do that to her. In this tweet, Morgan...
And it's so funny to me that, like, Mysterious has the absolute gall, the gumption to sit down and go, why don't these people go to the police? Why do they choose to go to social media? You know, you should do it the correct way. Brr, 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 brr. This is what happens when people speak out. This, what y'all did to Morgan, fuck Trisha Paytas at this point. Fuck Trisha Paytas at this point. What y'all did to Morgan was disgusting. It was disgusting. And you wonder why victims of SA don't come out and speak their truth? This bitch, this is why. This is why they don't speak their truth. Because even if they do, no one will believe. Even if their claim is corroborated by another human being who happens to be a social media celebrity, it doesn't matter. Y'all ran that girl off the internet. She ain't never come back since. She tried to speak up for herself, as well as Trisha, but herself, and y'all shut her down. You wonder why victims of SA don't speak up?
Is responding to someone who asked why Mr. R didn't get arrested. Morgan said it's Byron, and you wouldn't understand if you didn't live there. He was a well-to-do white man, and it was just swept under the rug. Morgan went on to say that she has absolutely zero reason to lie about Mr. R, and that what she's saying is the truth. She told the person she was responding to that they could Google the chief of police in Byron. She said his name is Todd Redacted and that she's Morgan Redacted, his daughter. She said her dad remembers Mr. R being fired for watching P in class as well. Morgan said she posted the screenshots of their text messages. Morgan then posted a screenshot of a group chat between herself and 3 other people from Byron.
And can I just say, I don't know if you can see this over here, but here, that name, Rachel Redacted, also was in the school yearbook photo that they all had together, meaning that they were all in the same year. Rachel is there. She says, yes, I remember.
In the group chat, Morgan said she's in a very heated Twitter argument and asked them if they remember Mr. R being fired for watching P on his computer while students were in the class. Tim Redacted responded and said, yes, he remembers that happening. He even named the student who caught Mr. R watching P in class. Rachel Redacted said she remembers Mr. R being fired for watching P in class too. Rachel is also pictured in the 6th grade yearbook, along with Trisha and Morgan. Someone tweeted a screenshot to Morgan from a Byron Facebook group that had been infiltrated and asked Morgan if what the other alleged former student was saying seems valid. In the screenshot, the person is saying they also remember Mr. R getting fired for having adult content on his computer, but the person said they heard he opened an email from a coworker that contained P, and a student saw it and reported Mr. R, and he was fired. The person said Mr. R was never inappropriate. Morgan responded by saying everyone's experience with Mr. R could be different. Morgan again reiterated she felt Mr. R touched her inappropriately, and she said all of her friends also remember him as a big creep. Morgan said she was told Mr. R was full-blown watching P, not that he had accidentally clicked on a link. Morgan also brought up a very valid point that if it was a coworker sending Mr. R P during class, wouldn't the coworker have been fired too? There was another former student named William. Even though William is considered a public figure because of the public nature of his job, I'm opting to keep his information private due to the immense backlash Morgan received when she tried to speak out about Mr. R. William said he remembers Mr. R and that Mr. R was fired for looking at
I also reached out to William.
Adult content on school computers. William said another rumor he heard was that Mr. R was set up by a parent who didn't like him, and that the parent emailed Mr. R a link to adult content. William said the last time he heard anything about him being fired was probably 15 years prior. I just want to take a second to point out some obvious flaws in the rumor that Mr. R was set up by a parent. First, why would a parent want to frame Mr. R as a sexual deviant? Second, if the parent was trying to set up Mr. R, why would the parent use an email that could be traced right back to them? And if the email could be traced back to the parent of the student who reported him, then why would Mr. R have been fired when he could have easily proven the link came from the student's parent? And on the flip side, if the email address couldn't be traced back to the parent, then it seems extremely unreasonable to conclude Mr. R was set up by the parent. And if the student who reported Mr. R was not the child of the parent who set him up, then that means the student actually caught him watching the P that was in the email, and in that case, why would the parent have ever assumed Mr. R would even open the email at school and during class in the first place, instead of opening it at home by himself, or during his break? On top of that, if Mr. R unintentionally clicked on the link with P, wouldn't the parent have assumed he would have closed it right away? So why would the parent assume, ahead of time, that a student would catch him watching it, in that short few second time frame? And even if the parent assumed ahead of time that Mr. R would click on it at school, and assumed a kid would see him do it, the parent would have also had to assume that the student who saw it would then report it. The whole plan would have been one of the worst, most bizarrely flawed plans, that somehow worked out exactly as the parent hoped it would. I'm sorry, but that is just completely ridiculous. I feel pretty confident that the reason Mr. R was watching P in his class was not because he was set up by a parent. According to Mysterious though, she thought Mr. R being set up by a parent made the most sense out of anything. Not surprisingly, she didn't even attempt to provide any logic for why she felt that way. To me, this is a clear example of Mysterious acting in bad faith, just saying whatever she thought best fit the narrative she was trying to push.
And Luke, is that how you say your name? There were Facebook comments saying that the teacher was allegedly sent a questionable link by a parent who didn't like him for whatever reason. They said that he was fired for it, but continued to work in other schools. Yeah, curious emojis. Thank you so much for your super chat. Yeah, that's another story that I heard. And that makes more sense than anything. But if this whole thing is true, that makes more sense than anything. I don't fucking know.
Now that we've gone through Morgan's tweets, her allegations against Mr. R are that he was very handsy. She said she remembers him as a big creep. During Heads Up 7-Up, under the guise that he was rubbing her shoulders, he would rub way too low, grabbing her chest. She said she felt the way he touched her was inappropriate. She said he would only do it when no one else could see. In addition to that, at least half a dozen people, including the chief of police of Byron, have memories of Mr. R being fired after getting caught watching P on his computer at school while children were in the classroom. Morgan ended up privating her social media accounts before fully deactivating them after the hate mob started harassing her and members of her family. An H3 fan named Ashley said Morgan deleted her Twitter and socials because Morgan, her father, and the rest of her family were getting doxxed and receiving threats. Ashley said the reason she knows this is because she's the one that accidentally doxxed Morgan. She said Morgan reached out to her privately and asked her if she would delete it. Ashley said Morgan told her she just wanted to do the right thing by speaking up, but no longer wanted to be involved. Ashley said that Morgan was terrified. Morgan briefly reactivated her Twitter account to ask people to leave her alone and to stop harassing her, as well as her family, her place of work, and to stop posting private information about her family. So essentially, Morgan was chased off the internet and silenced by an already existing hate mob, just for clarifying that Mr. R was fired, not arrested, and for saying that Mr. R had also touched her inappropriately too. Morgan isn't a public figure. She's just a regular person who commented on a viral topic about her own personal experiences and knowledge as it relates to Mr. R. Her identity has been verified, and as a former student of Mr. R.
Minda just said, Jesus Christ, going through hoops and bounds to come up with any excuse to defame these people. Maybe not defame, that's not the right word, but to harass these people. Oh yeah, that's how bad it was. And people forget like how deep it was, and they run with the narrative of, you know, justice for Mr. R, but it's like, really? Really though? Because when you assess it, actually, no. Too many people have come forward saying very similar stories. Too many people recall this, you know, the P incident in front of children. Too many people who probably won't even know about all of the stuff happening on social media in privatized, you know, Byron, Illinois groups talking about it months before any of this happened. Interesting.
Her allegations should be taken seriously. There is no evidence that Morgan, her dad, and any of the other verifiable former students were not telling the truth or had a reason to lie. Despite the immense pressure, harassment, threats, and doxing, none of these people have ever recanted their allegations. Morgan coming forward with her own allegations against Mr. R and clarifying that he was fired, not arrested, for being sexually inappropriate around children in his classroom didn't fit the narrative Mysterious was trying to push. Instead of acknowledging Morgan's credible allegations and taking them seriously and treating Morgan with the kind of compassion a victim of CSA should be treated with, Mysterious did something that is beyond incomprehensible. She used every disgusting tactic she could possibly think of to try to discredit yet another victim of CSA, one that isn't even a public figure. One of the first things Mysterious did was
Here we go. So Mysterious did several different things. It was that she didn't exist, that she did exist, but she wasn't telling the truth, and that she was paid by Trisha Paytas. There was just like loads of different reasons. And it was never like one consistent reason as to why somebody would come forward with this kind of information. She was having her feet held to the fire and she didn't like it. So she was coming up with anything to discredit Morgan, anything. Because Morgan held the key to verifying that what Trisha Paytas was saying could potentially be true. And I didn't like that narrative because Trisha Paytas bad. Trisha Paytas can be bad and still be a victim of CSA. Those two don't have to coincide with each other. She can still be a terrible person and still be the victim of CSA. Those two don't have to run in tandem.
Minimize Morgan's allegations. She flat out said there is no second victim and that Morgan only said Mr. R touched her shoulders. Mysterious said that is not SA.
But the girl didn't allege the same things as Trisha. All she alleged is that he put his hands on her shoulders. Who are the two victims? I'm not denying any victim. Touching shoulders is not SA. I don't understand.
Morgan did not only say that he touched her shoulders. Morgan made it very clear she felt he touched her inappropriately. Mysterious viewers may not know Morgan said Mr. R touched her inappropriately though, considering Mysterious conveniently left that tweet out of her video entirely. Yes, you heard that correctly. Mysterious went out of her way to hide from her viewers the fact that Morgan said Mr. R touched her inappropriately. I guess, when you're trying to convince people that someone isn't a victim of CSA, that showing them saying that they felt they were touched inappropriately as a child doesn't really fit with that narrative. So it seems Mysterious just decided to leave out that important information entirely. To reiterate once again, Morgan said, Mr. R was very handsy. And as strongly as one can possibly imply, she implied he would grab her chest during Heads Up 7-Up, under the guise that he was rubbing her shoulders, while rubbing way too low, to actually just be rubbing her shoulders. She said he would only do this when nobody could see. And she said her and all of her friends remember Mr. R as a big creep. The way Mysterious took Morgan's words and purposely minimized them so that her viewers wouldn't think Morgan was a victim is inconceivable. I want to make this absolutely clear. What Morgan described is without a doubt CSA. Grabbing or caressing anyone's chest without their consent is SA. I do not believe for 1 second that if Mysterious' daughter said her teacher touches her inappropriately, when nobody else can see, that Mysterious would treat her daughter the way she's treated Morgan, or that she would want other people treating her daughter the way she's treated Morgan. Morgan said what he did to her didn't change her entire life.
The thing, even if it was just the shoulders, let's just play devil's advocate here. Even if it was just the shoulders and it made the child feel uncomfortable, period, point blank, inappropriate. Period, point blank. I can't think of a single instance where a teacher rubbing a child's shoulders is appropriate, especially when the majority of the class has their eyes closed. Girl, in what world? Touching kids in general is not appropriate. Exactly, thank you. Like, if you look up Mysterious's channel, she's uploaded 8 hours and 45 minutes worth of Trisha content within the same space of 4 months. Absolute loony. Crazy.
But she said Mr. R definitely did those things to her. Mysterious twisted Morgan, saying it didn't change her life, into saying Morgan said it never affected her at all, and that she never gave it a second thought.
She said it was like he rubbed my shoulders or something, but it wasn't anything that affected me and nothing I really gave a second thought. And a lot of teachers, I've had teachers like touch my shoulders or pat me on the back, tell me a good job, or like, you know, pinch my shoulder or something like that. I mean, it's not uncommon for a teacher, you know, to like put their hand on your back or put their hand on your shoulder. It doesn't mean it's not SA.
Again, just another instance of Mysterious changing Morgan's words to make it better fit the narrative Mysterious was trying to push onto her viewers. Mysterious was so desperate to discredit Morgan that she went as low as to repeatedly try to say that because Morgan spelled one letter of Mr. R's last name wrong, that it was evidence Morgan shouldn't be believed.
She kept spelling the teacher's name wrong. So she kept spelling the teacher's name wrong. And the other weird thing that I thought is she kept spelling his name wrong. She didn't spell his name right either, which I thought was odd. I just thought I'd throw it out there that she spelled his name wrong.
Imagine how sick one would have to be to try to pass that garbage off as evidence in their heinous quest to try to discredit other people's CSAs. When Morgan asked her dad if he remembered Mr. R being fired for watching P on his computer while students were in the classroom, her dad said that he does vaguely remember that happening. Mysterious said vaguely isn't a yes or no, and that it's not confirmation that he remembers it happening.
Her dad responded vaguely. I vaguely remember this. Which is not yes or no. That really isn't confirmation that her dad...
Girl, it was 20 years ago. It was 20 years ago. If my mom goes, do you remember that ice cream that we got just before you went to school trip? I'll be like, oh, vaguely remember. Why? Because it's over 20 years ago.
Remembers this.
Mysterious needed people to believe Morgan's dad didn't remember it happening. Having the chief of police confirm he remembers Mr. R being fired for watching P on his computer while children were in his classroom would be extreme.
And if we are supposed to believe the words of the police over the victim, then this is the chief of police saying that they know about this. This is the chief of police. So you're just hypocritical all across the board. If we're supposed to believe police people, the judicial system, and all of that kind of stuff, a police officer, the chief of police, verifiably, the chief of police, verifying that they vaguely remember this situation from 20 years ago, because I imagine as a chief of police, you come across multiple different cases. It is wild to me, the hoops that this crazy bitch will jump through in order to make sure that her narrative makes sense. And can I just say, just for like content creators who are coming into the commentary space, this is what happens, because I've seen this happen more recently with one particular girl, right? This is what happens where you research something to fill your narrative instead of researching something to find the whole story. Because then you negate the pieces of information that contradict what it is that you are trying to say.
Extremely detrimental to Mysterious' narrative that Mr. R was not a creep. Mysterious said vaguely is not a yes or a no. That's not true. If you've never been to Alaska, you wouldn't say you vaguely remembered going to Alaska. If your mom never won $5 million, you wouldn't say you vaguely remember her winning $5 million. And the reason you wouldn't say that is because vaguely remembering something means yes, you do have at least some memories of that actually happening, even if you can't remember all the specific details about it. You would never say you vaguely remember something if you have no memory at all of it ever happening. So when Morgan's dad said he vaguely remembers it, he's saying yes, he remembers it happening, and he remembers some things about it, but not every specific detail because it was over 20 years ago. And that's not just my interpretation of it, he actually went on to say he doesn't remember all of the specifics, but he does recall that nobody ended up filing charges against him. So when Mysterious said that Morgan's dad didn't confirm that he remembers that happening, that is not true. Morgan's dad, who mind you, is the chief of police, confirmed he remembers Mr. R being fired for watching P on his computer at school. He just said he doesn't remember all the specific details about it, which is to be expected, considering it was over 20 years ago. When it comes to Mr. R being fired, it's actually mind-blowing that people thought Mysterious, who has never even stepped foot in Byron, was a more credible source of information than the chief of police, who said he does remember Mr. R being fired. Mysterious consistently tried to manufacture contradictions in the things Morgan said. One contradiction Mysterious fabricated was Morgan saying Mr. R was fired years later after he was her teacher, and then afterwards saying it was a couple years later.
Oh, she went from saying it was years later to 2 years. She said it was years later, and this teacher was not teaching at Byron years later. When I hear years later, I think like at least 3 to 4 years, something like that.
Within seconds of Morgan saying he was fired years later, she quickly clarified that by years later, she meant a couple of years. The two tweets were less than 1 minute apart. This was not Morgan contradicting herself or changing her story. This was simply Morgan being more specific about how many years later he was fired. Even if Morgan hadn't ever clarified that he was fired a couple years later and had just left it at years later, she still wouldn't have been wrong. Years is the plural form of year. Plural means more than one in number. 2 years is more than one in number. So it's perfectly accurate to refer to it as just years. For instance, telling someone you have cats and then saying you have a couple cats wouldn't be contradicting yourself. That's not changing your story, and it wouldn't be an example of lying, that's just being more specific. Here's how blatantly disingenuous Mysterious was being with her viewers. Mysterious herself used the word years to refer to the exact same 2 years as Morgan.
She makes it sound like she was there and she saw it happen, but how in the hell would you know this? Especially because it happened years later when he wasn't even her teacher anymore.
Mysterious must have...
Oh, so you do have some understanding of what that word means. Okay, interesting.
Really wanted her viewers to think Morgan couldn't keep her story straight about when Mr. R was fired, because she also said Morgan wrote the word years in all capital letters, implying that by doing so, it was further proof that Morgan meant he was fired many years later and not just a couple years later.
According to Morgan, it happened years later because it was all in capital letters. I mean, you guys can find the screenshots if you really need to view them because they're all over everything.
This was another lie told by Mysterious. Morgan did not write the word years in all capital letters. Not surprisingly, when Mysterious told that lie, she conveniently didn't put Morgan's tweet on the screen. Mysterious not only didn't show the tweet on the screen when she was lying about Morgan putting years later in all capital letters, but she acted like she didn't even have the tweet to begin with. She switched from having her Twitter account showing on her screen to pulling up Reddit, and she gave a whole story about how she would try to search Reddit for the tweet to prove that Morgan wrote it in all capital letters, except she's not good with Reddit and doesn't know how to use it. However, a few minutes later, Mysterious switched back over to her Twitter because she wanted to show her viewers a different tweet of Morgan's that Mysterious had tweeted about. When Mysterious went to show the other tweet she wanted to talk about, guess what was right next to it? You guessed it. The tweet showing that Morgan did not write years later in all capital letters. Now mind you, this happened during a live stream, so Mysterious had just accidentally exposed that she did have the tweet, and that years later is not in capital letters. She was probably kicking herself for not realizing ahead of time that the years later tweet was right next to the other tweet she wanted to show, but she was live and had to play it off. So she opened the tweet and completely glossed over the fact that years later was not in capital letters. She didn't correct herself, she didn't acknowledge she got that wrong, or apologize for pretending she didn't even have the tweet. She just quickly went on to the next thing that she wanted to discredit Morgan over. Here's the clip so you can see it all go down for yourself.
According to Morgan, it happened years later because it was all in capital letters. I mean, you guys can find the screenshots if you really need to view them because they're all over everything. I can probably try to find it on Reddit, but I have no idea how to search Reddit or anything. That's why I wanted that Instagram, man. Let me see if I can pull it up. So basically, you know, she said it was years later. That's not working. I don't know how to search Reddit. I don't know how to find things on Reddit. I really just don't. I'm just not good with Reddit at all. Somebody had dropped a comment that said, well, damn, if your dad was the chief of police and he did nothing, then somebody needs to be looking into his job or something like that. You know what I mean? And as soon as somebody said that, I think I actually have that on my Twitter. Let me pull that back up. As soon as somebody said that, she changed her story and she said,
oh, girl. Oh, girl. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Dumb bitch. Okay.
Okay, yeah, here's this tweet. He became chief in 2000, the year I was in 7th grade, and him as a teacher, and then the teacher was fired years later. And then yeah, so she just confirmed that her dad was the chief of police in 2000.
If Mysterious was acting in good faith, and had just accidentally forgotten she had the tweet, and had just accidentally thought Morgan typed it in all capital letters, she would have simply acknowledged she had gotten that wrong. But Mysterious was acting in bad faith, and in order to push her narrative, she needed her viewers to believe Morgan was lying, even though Mysterious was the one who was lying. Unfortunately, it worked. Mysterious glossing right over that Morgan didn't actually emphasize in...
Do you know what's interesting about this is that in the this section here, she goes, she even spelled the teacher's name wrong and said that her dad was the chief of police in 2000, then said he wasn't in 2000, said that it happened in 7th grade, but Trish said it was 6th, and said that he got fired years later. She's the one who put capital years, but this teacher was not at Byron years later. It was her who put years in capitals, not this girl.
in all capital letters, that Mr. R was fired years later, went unnoticed, so her viewers went on falsely believing that Morgan couldn't keep her story straight about when Mr. R was fired. Mysterious also insinuated that Morgan changed her answer from years later to a couple years later because someone must have called Morgan out about the timing.
My guess is people questioned her about the timing and then she changed her tweet to a couple years instead of years later.
In this video, Mysterious did show the tweets, unlike her other video, where she didn't show them so she could lie and say Morgan wrote the word years in all capital letters. That's because in this video, Mysterious had a new lie that she was pushing. Even though Mysterious showed the tweets in this video, she blacked out who was being tagged, and also blacked out the timestamp, so that way her viewers couldn't see that it was mere seconds later that Morgan clarified it was a couple years, and that Morgan was replying to herself, not someone else. So no, Morgan did not say a couple years later, because someone called her out about the timing. She said a couple years later literally just to be more specific. Mysterious knew that Morgan was replying to herself, she just didn't want anyone else to know that, because she wanted her viewers to think someone called Morgan out about the timing, and that Morgan was switching her story up. Morgan said her dad became chief of police in 2000, the year she was in 7th grade, and had Mr. R as a teacher. When someone questioned Morgan about her dad being chief of police, when she had Mr. R as her teacher, Morgan said her dad wasn't chief when she was in Mr. R's class. Mysterious had the following things to say about that.
Now, the last tweet I'm going to show you guys is the tweet that made her disappear. Someone replied to Morgan with the following tweet. If your dad was police chief and he knew the teacher was handsy with little girls and didn't arrest him, he probably should step down as chief of police. And then Morgan replied with, he wasn't chief then. So she changed her statement about her father being police chief during this time and then deactivated all of her accounts. Somebody said something like, if your dad was police chief during that time, then somebody needs to look into him, because if he ignored a teacher getting handsy with girls, and he should have been, investigated himself or whatever for not doing anything about it. And then she changed it from he was police chief in 2000 to he wasn't police chief in 2000. And then she disappeared. She changed her story and she said, okay, yeah, here's this tweet. He became chief in 2000, the year I was in 7th grade, and him as a teacher. And then the teacher was fired years later. And then, yeah, so she just confirmed that her dad was the chief of police in 2000. So when people started questioning her, this person said, if your dad was police chief and he knew the teacher was handsy with little girls and he didn't arrest him, he probably should step down as chief of police. And then she replies, he wasn't chief then. So she said he was, then she said he wasn't. And then, yeah, it was just all so weird. And then she disappeared after that.
Mysterious tried to use this to say Morgan was contradicting herself. Mysterious used it as yet another way to try to discredit.
Documemo goes, she disappeared because people wouldn't stop harassing her. Very that.
Morgan. Morgan's dad became chief of police in September of 2000. Morgan and Trisha graduated in 2006.
I graduated in 2006.
If they graduated in 2006 and had Mr. R as a teacher in 6th grade, then Morgan's 6th grade year would have ended around May 2000. That means, when Morgan's dad became chief of police.
Oh, they broke it down, girl. They broke it down. They said May of 2000. Oh, they broke it down there, girl.
In September of 2000, that Morgan was in the 7th grade. So Morgan was telling the truth when she said her dad became chief of police in 2000, and she was also telling the truth when she said her dad wasn't chief of police when she had Mr. R as a teacher. Although Morgan did clarify she was in 6th grade when she had Mr. R as a teacher, technically every single thing about this tweet is still correct. Her dad was chief in 2000, she was in 7th grade when her dad became chief, and he became chief the same year she had Mr. R as a teacher, it was just during a different part of the year. So despite what Mysterious said, Morgan did not contradict herself. Mysterious, somehow, stalked down Trisha's middle school yearbook.
Literally, couldn't even just get the timeline of fucking events correct. And y'all chose to listen to this crazy bitch. Ugh.
Which isn't publicly available online. Considering Mysterious had access to Trisha's 1999 to 2000.
Tool just says, I hate that the whole she disappeared. She owes you absolutely nothing, you cretin.
6th grade yearbook. Mysterious should have known that Morgan's statements were truthful. Even without having access to her yearbook, it was simple to figure out that Morgan was in the 7th grade in September 2000 when her dad became chief of police. I can't help but wonder if Mysterious was purposely being deceitful when she said Morgan was contradicting herself. At the very least, she didn't do her research very well, which resulted in her spreading misinformation about a victim of CSA that she was trying to discredit, which is disgusting, to put it mildly. I want to address a couple other parts of those clips. Mysterious, as well as the person that was questioning Morgan, both made statements implying Morgan's dad had done something wrong for not arresting Mr. R for touching students inappropriately. Morgan never said that she confided to her dad, at the time, or at any time since then, that Mr. R touched her, or anyone else, inappropriately. At no point in time did Trisha say the police were aware that Mr. R touched her inappropriately either. If the police didn't know about it, how could they have arrested him? So not only did Mysterious accuse Morgan of things that weren't true, now we have Mysterious spreading a gross narrative that if Morgan's telling the truth, then it means her dad was complicit, which has no basis in reality whatsoever. The other thing I want to address, in the clips I played, was Mysterious repeatedly implying that Morgan deactivated her accounts because she was caught in contradictions. We've already established, Morgan did not contradict herself, which means that's not why she deactivated her accounts. So this was just more false information Mysterious was spreading about Morgan. In order to get people to believe that Morgan deactivated her accounts, because of the manufactured contradictions that Mysterious created, Mysterious had to also convince her viewers that Morgan wasn't even being harassed or doxxed when she first deactivated her.
This part, I remember this specifically because I think I did it on double speed, so I don't know how much of it I digested, but I watched her review my video, and this here is the creme de la resistance.
Accounts, so that way, it looked like Morgan deactivated because she couldn't keep her story straight, instead of deactivating because she was being harassed and doxxed.
The funny part about it is, when Morgan disappeared the first time after people were questioning her, the tweets had hardly any attention at all. And I'm being serious about that. There was probably 3 or 4 people. I wish I would have just screen recorded the whole thing or took all these screenshots, but I didn't take screenshots at the time. There was only like 2 or 3 or 4 people questioning her. One thing I want to say is if you go back and look through all of these tweets, there's hardly any traction on them. I was watching all of this happening and there were about 2 or 3 people questioning her, and the tweets that were questioning her weren't mean or hateful. They were just questioning the situation, and they weren't doxing her either. But she deactivated everything, which is odd to me. Yes, she did get doxed and doxed herself, but it wasn't until after she disappeared that people were starting to share the screenshots everywhere.
First, just look at the tweet to Morgan that was on the screen when Mysterious tried to convince her viewers that nobody was even saying anything mean to Morgan. It's literally someone falsely accusing her dad of being complicit with Mr. R inappropriately touching girls, and that her dad should lose his job. So right there, you can already see Mysterious wasn't being truthful. However, just to further prove that Mysterious wasn't being honest, here's a reminder that Ashley, whose account has been active for over 10 years and has over 6,000 tweets, talked to Morgan privately and confirmed that the reason Morgan deactivated her accounts was because Morgan, her father, and the rest of her family were being doxxed and threatened, and that Morgan was terrified because of it. Ashley tweeted that out on September 13th. That was before Morgan briefly reactivated her account to ask people to leave herself and her family alone before she deleted her accounts for good. So when Ashley said Morgan deactivated her accounts because she was being doxxed and threatened, she was 100% referring to the first time Morgan privated and deactivated her accounts. That completely debunks Mysterious, saying Morgan wasn't being harassed or doxxed until after she had already deactivated her accounts the first time. Ashley even said herself that she had publicly doxed private information about Morgan. It's the entire reason her and Morgan ended up having a private conversation, because Morgan reached out to Ashley and asked her to delete it. So yes, Morgan being doxed and harassed is what resulted in her deactivating her accounts. It certainly was not because of the non-existent contradictions that Mysterious fabricated entirely on her own. And again, here's Morgan's bio, from when she very briefly reactivated her account, to ask people to leave herself and her family alone, and to quit sharing their personal information. Many people just took Mysterious at her word. It's terrifying the way Mysterious was able to manipulate people into believing absolutely everything that she was saying. She convinced people that nobody was being mean to Morgan, while there was literally a tweet on her screen of someone being nasty to Morgan. Morgan was dealing with more than just Twitter comments. People were contacting Morgan, her dad, and other family members on other social media platforms as well. People were contacting the police station her dad worked at. And one can only imagine the kind of DMs she was receiving. Morgan wasn't a public figure. She was terrified. And do you want to know what Mysterious was up to when Morgan had to deactivate her accounts because she was receiving threats and her family were being harassed? Mysterious was adding fuel to the fire. She was publicly urging the hate mob not to trust Morgan and not to take her at her word. And it wasn't just Morgan.
Right, I literally just saw this and went all down just now. So how people are posting this stuff as fact before looking into it is crazy to me. Says you, bitch. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys, but don't trust every person that says something without looking into it first. People are going to probably come out of the woodwork with this. This story is getting really big. Ooh. It's important to look into these things before posting shit. These are people's lives on both sides. Please research first. I would love to ask you the same question, you crazy bitch.
That she was urging people to be skeptical of. Mysterious urged people to be skeptical of victims that might come forward in the future too. She said the story was getting really big and warned that other people are probably going to try to come out of the woodwork. Mysterious basically chastised anyone who had given Morgan the benefit of the doubt. She said that was crazy to her, and she urged people to research victims first. So while Morgan was receiving threats and was terrified, Mysterious was publicly using her platform to incite people not to trust her.
The whole Morgan person, how she just...
Why was Mysterious so invested in defending this man anyway? Like, go touch grass. Because she disliked Trisha, and she realized that the Trisha videos were gaining traction. You gotta remember, these videos are getting 500,000 a pop. So she was just posting Trisha content. Her previous content before then was hitting a couple of, 1,000 views, but nothing of this magnitude. So she knew that there was, quote unquote, blood money to be had by, creating a toxic fan base in order to go with whatever narrative fit, as per her words.
Appeared at the right time, at the right time. And just nobody all these years has come forward to say anything.
Could it be that she didn't come forward earlier? Because earlier, there weren't thousands of people publicly calling for justice for the man that essayed her as a child prior to your disgusting video, trying to discredit someone else's CSA?
Why would a student want to come forward when they could possibly get a lot of hate from it as well? That's the other thing that doesn't make any sense to me, is like, why would that girl want to come forward when the odds...
Oh my God, you're saying why would she want to come forward when the odds are that the person's going to get dragged? Yet at the same time, earlier on in this video, you're sitting there saying that people should come forward and talk, their truth to the police and all that kind of stuff. This girl gets the police chief of Byron to corroborate that he vaguely remembers these events taking place. You want to discredit her? Send your hate mob of individuals over to this person. Absolutely destroy her social media presence. Do you understand what I mean? Like, does any of this even make sense? The girl was being harassed. She was being harassed for telling her truth. Why didn't she come forward earlier? Probably because nobody gave a fuck about Mr. Riney until recently, until it became topic of discussion. But the moment she corroborated it, you did everything you could. You disgusting, vile piece of shit, garbage human being, to destroy any credibility that girl had based on not even facts, just vague assumptions that you have and alluding to notions that you believe. And you want to question why they came out now? Trisha Paytas told her story of CSA, and somebody else came forward and said, "Me too." And you just sat there with your big ass platform and told everybody not to believe her. With complete and utter fake news. Disgusting. Disgusting. There is a special place in hell for somebody like you. Special place in hell. I hope it burns your skin to a crisp.
Are stacked against her. Like, why wouldn't somebody come forward when Trisha was in the height of things, when she was on the top of the top? You know what I mean?
You are completely right. The odds were definitely stacked against her, and she was bound to get a lot of hate. You did that to her. You are the reason that the odds were stacked against her. You, and others just like you, make it that much harder for victims in general to come forward. We don't have to guess why Morgan came forward. She said why she came forward. She just wanted to do the right thing. That is probably a foreign concept to you, so I can see why it didn't even cross your mind. Morgan having the courage to come forward in spite of a literal hate mob calling for justice for her abuser was beyond brave and would have probably been extraordinarily difficult for her to do. She deserves to be commended, not condemned.
It's just weird to me, and it's so weird that the girl was pictured in my video, because there were probably 3 other pages, full pages of students in her class that were in the video. So it's just convenient that it was one of the pictures that were in the actual video.
The yearbook is in alphabetical order. The page in the yearbook that Trisha and Morgan are on includes last names that start with the letters M through T. Imagine thinking it's suspicious that Morgan's last name starts with the letter M. It is absolutely unbelievable that people were actually buying this bullshit. Not only did Mysterious have an issue with Morgan's last name starting with the letter M, but what she was ultimately saying was that she didn't like the fact that Morgan's identity could be easily verified. Considering her motives, I can definitely see why she would have preferred if it was harder to confirm Morgan's identity. As another way to try to discredit Morgan, Mysterious pushed a narrative that Trisha and Morgan were actually in cahoots together. The notion that
Remember, I said there was this whole other narrative that, Trisha had paid her off in order to say these things. Remember that? So when they couldn't say that this girl didn't exist anymore, because the first narrative was that she didn't exist and it wasn't real. And then when people started people such as me, pulling up receipts saying, no, this person definitely existed. Now, oh, she's being paid. I remember this one.
Morgan would not only sacrifice her own self to a hate mob, but also her father, so she could lie about a decorated war vet, just because someone she went to middle school with asked her to, is actually insane. Mysterious presented her audience with a Facebook conspiracy theory as a way to push this narrative, that Morgan was secretly working with Trisha. This conspiracy is so convoluted, baseless, and so heavily reliant on innuendo and speculation, that it's actually delusional. It's another instance of Mysterious flinging shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. I'm going to play clips from her conspiracy theory and break it down one piece at a time.
Most of you know there was someone that went to middle school with Trisha that came forward at just the right time to somewhat back up Trisha's story. I'm going to keep it real with you guys though. There's a lot of question in this situation, and I'm going to be transparent with you guys. A good chunk of this segment is circumstantial evidence and speculation, but I do have receipts to show you guys on why.
Oh, circumstantial evidence and speculation. That's interesting. Seems like your whole MO.
Feel the way I do in this situation. So let's start from the beginning before any of us knew that Morgan said something. On September 11th, 2021.
It was September 10th, not September 11th.
Ethan Klein put out a statement on Twitter in reference to the teacher.
Oh, we must disregard this. She got the date wrong. She couldn't even get the date right. Remember, because, Morgan couldn't get Mr. Riney's spelling correctly. Yeah, she couldn't even get the date right. Disregard this. Completely baseless. Isn't that how we're working now? That people can't make human error and mistakes, you idiot.
And what Trisha stated on Frenemies. This is a few days after my original video was posted. Ethan posting this was so big, and I really appreciate Ethan taking the steps to remove the episode. So when Ethan posted this tweet, of course, the story spread like wildfire.
Mysterious just said that Ethan's tweet was spreading like wildfire. Yet just a couple minutes prior, she insinuated there was something suspicious about Morgan coming forward at just the right time. There's nothing suspicious about Morgan replying to a viral tweet that personally involved her.
Next day, on September 12th, Trisha put out a bunch of tweets.
It wasn't the next day, it was 2 days later.
Out of all of these tweets, there was one that really stood out to me, and Trisha said the following. I've only ever shared stories when other people come out with theirs first. I have so many awful, unmentionable things that have happened to me in my life, but I'll wait till others share their stories until I chime in. People only believe me when others have the same story. Again, this was before any of us knew anything about Morgan.
This was actually one day after Morgan had already replied to Ethan's tweet.
What a media.
Why can't she follow the timeline? Why can't she follow the timeline? This is important. This changes the narrative completely. This changes the narrative completely. You're priming your audience to believe that Trisha Paytas posted this, and then days later Morgan said XYZ, when the reality is Morgan had already come out, and 2 days later Trisha Paytas said the following. Because a few people, only a few people at this point, were beginning to believe what Trisha Paytas was saying as fact because somebody else had come forward. So they said that I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let people say what they need to say because nobody believes me. Do you know how sad that is, bitch? Do you know how fucking sad that is? That a person who is an alleged victim of CSA said, I'm not going to speak because no one believes me. And maybe when these people continue to tell their stories, people might believe me. You're vile. You're vile. You're vile, disgusting, manipulative, cold-hearted, arrogant woman.
Immediately popped into my head was Trisha was probably getting in touch with someone from her middle school, and that person was going to come forward with something similar to what Trisha was saying online.
This was bullshit that Mysterious was peddling to her audience. Morgan had already come forward the day before Trisha even tweeted this, and Mysterious knew that. She was literally trying to manipulate her audience into thinking Trisha said that, because Trisha was secretly getting ready to have Morgan come forward when Morgan had already come forward the day before. Also, Trisha's tweet was about her not feeling comfortable sharing certain things if someone else hasn't come forward first. So it didn't even make sense for Mysterious to try to connect this tweet to Morgan. Considering Morgan did not come forward first about Mr. R, Trisha came forward nearly a year before Morgan. So Mysterious was trying to make a connection between Morgan and this tweet that just didn't exist.
What Trish described in this tweet is exactly how things unfolded online.
Lies. Nothing about this tweet, in relation to Morgan, is how things unfolded online. Morgan didn't come forward about Mr. R first, and the hate mob didn't believe Trisha because of Morgan. They just added Morgan to their witch hunt too.
And then Morgan magically came into the picture.
This is a lie that Mysterious kept telling her audience, that Morgan magically came forward after Trisha.
She flat out lied. She flat out lied to peddle a fucking narrative. She flat out lied. Not taking pieces of information and cherry picking. That's bad enough. Girl, she lied. Lied out of her teeth, out of the skin of her teeth. She lied.
Trisha's tweet. Morgan came forward on the 11th. Trisha's tweet was on the 12th.
The other thing that I found really odd during this time of Morgan coming forward is Trish was on her Facebook live streaming old videos. Facebook is the #1 social media app people use to reconnect with people they went to school with.
And here's another clip of Mysterious, in one of her live streams, trying to manipulatively make the connection that just the act alone of Trisha posting videos on Facebook means she's trying to get in touch with her former classmates.
The other thing I find funny, you guys, I don't know if you guys seen the screenshots of her going on Facebook. She did a Facebook live, but it was like an edited video. Why was she on Facebook? That was such a random thing. Did you guys know that Facebook is one of the top apps to reconnect with your high school buddies, your middle school buddies? And we know that Trisha has talked to former classmates on Facebook before because there is a shit ton of receipts of her talking to people from her hometown.
And not a single one of those receipts shows any interaction between Trisha and Morgan. Mysterious was pushing a Facebook conspiracy theory involving Trisha and Morgan, without even showing a Facebook connection between them. She didn't even show if Morgan followed Trisha, which leads me to believe Morgan didn't follow her, because
like every other human in the planet right now, everybody has a Facebook, girl. Everybody has a Facebook. She's reaching. She is. This is such a reach. Such a reach.
There's no way Mysterious would have left that out of her conspiracy. In fact, Mysterious never provided a single shred of evidence that Morgan and Trisha ever had any interactions on any platform. But yet, Mysterious was showing old public interactions Trisha had with people who are not Morgan, to somehow implicate Morgan in this bizarre Facebook conspiracy.
So don't you guys find it funny that on the day that Ethan put out his tweet about removing the Frenemies episode, which was on September 11th,
it was September 10th, not September 11th,
that Trisha posted a live video on Facebook that would get her followers' attention on the app.
Again, Mysterious has never shown proof that Morgan even followed Trisha on Facebook. But she wanted people to believe that Trisha posted a video on Facebook titled, "Get Ready With Me in Vegas," to specifically try to get her former middle school classmates' attention, so she could then ask one of them to lie about being CSA'd for her. And that Morgan, who as far as we know, didn't even follow Trisha, saw the "Get Ready With Me in Vegas" video, then reached out to Trisha, and Trisha asked her to lie about their teacher, and Morgan said yes, and just as a bonus, had her dad lie for Trisha too? That is completely insane. That is such a far-fetched and baseless conspiracy theory. Also, keep in mind that when Morgan replied to Ethan's tweet, it was extremely early in the morning, on September 11th. It wasn't even 8 in the morning yet. I highly doubt the video Trisha posted to Facebook on the 11th was before 7 in the morning. Mysterious took a screenshot of Trisha's Facebook video on the 11th, and of her Facebook video on the 13th. Notice that she included the timestamp on the video from the 13th, but not the 11th. I don't think it's a big leap at this point to assume the reason she didn't want the timestamp shown is because Trisha obviously posted it after Morgan had already come forward on Twitter, which would completely debunk her already insane conspiracy theory.
And then shortly after this, Morgan magically appeared. That's quite a coincidence if you ask me.
As we've already gone over, Trisha did not post that Facebook Live before Morgan came forward. The entire premise of this Facebook conspiracy relied on Mysterious changing the dates of when things actually happened. Mysterious created a fake timeline of events in order to accommodate this conspiracy theory. She changed the date Ethan made his tweet from
This is going to be Negating the Truth, the musical by Mysterious.
September 10th to the 11th, so she could say it was suspicious that Trisha went on Facebook Live the same day as Ethan's tweet, which was a lie. Trisha went live on Facebook on the 11th, which was the day after Ethan's tweet. Mysterious then said Morgan magically came forward sometime after Trisha's tweet on the 12th, to try to make it look like Trisha had successfully gotten Morgan's attention with the Facebook Live on the 11th, and that when Trisha tweeted on the 12th, it was because she knew Morgan was getting ready to come forward. These were more lies. Morgan did not come forward after Trisha's tweet on the 12th. Morgan came forward on the 11th. In fact, Morgan started replying to Ethan's tweet so early in the morning, on the 11th, that she had most likely come forward before Trisha ever even posted her Facebook Live on the 11th. There's plenty of evidence that Mysterious knew exactly when things actually went down, and that she didn't accidentally get the timeline wrong, but instead, purposefully and maliciously, got the timeline wrong. For example, Mysterious said Ethan made his tweet on September 11th.
On September 11th, 2021, Ethan Klein put out a statement on Twitter in reference to the teacher.
But on the 10th, Mysterious reacted to Ethan's tweet just a couple hours after he tweeted it.
Let's look at Ethan's tweet real quick. That way I can just keep things moving. So this is...
So from her own stream on September 10th, that's when she reacted to it. So yeah, no, she knew the timeline. She was just being mysterious, I guess.
Huge to me, like really, really huge. Ethan,
what's that? Katie Lady just says, plus people were coming for Trisha. Facebook is smaller, YouTube audience wise. So she went for a smaller platform to go live. So less hate, maybe, possibly. That makes a lot of sense as well.
He unlisted the Frenemies episode today, and he put out a tweet like literally like an hour ago.
In Mysterious video, the tweet even said the 10th on it. I guess she thought nobody would pay attention to that, and she was right. When Mysterious took the screenshot of Trisha's Facebook Live on the 11th, she didn't show the timestamp, like she did with the Facebook Live on the 13th. I believe that's because she didn't want anyone who actually might pay attention to the timeline to notice the Facebook Live was posted after Morgan had already come forward. And finally, in order to convince people Morgan came forward sometime after Trisha made her tweet on the 12th, Mysterious used screenshots of Morgan's tweets that didn't show the dates, such as these two. In some, the date was cropped off the bottom, like this one. And in some cases, Mysterious literally erased the date off of Morgan's tweets. She literally blacked out the date on this tweet. Oops, Mysterious accidentally left the date on this one. If people had been paying attention, that tweet right there would have debunked Mysterious' entire conspiracy. That Morgan didn't come forward until after Trisha's tweet on the 12th.
So she redacted information from the tweet. Is that the falsifying evidence situation, Katie Lady? Is that what we're assuming is the falsified evidence?
Mysterious touts herself as some great researcher who meticulously pays attention to details. So it's hard to believe she got the date wrong for not just one, but for multiple major events in the timeline. And that on top of it, the screenshots she chose to use for Morgan's tweets just so happened to conveniently not show what date Morgan tweeted them out. But even after all of this, if you still wanted to give Mysterious the benefit of the doubt that she really didn't know what date Morgan came forward on Twitter, here's even more proof.
People started messaging this Morgan person. And I was watching it as it was going down, because as the tweet was getting traction, somebody had sent it to me and said, hey, look at this tweet. And we were watching this whole thing go down.
Mysterious said she was watching Morgan's Twitter and everything go down live when people were questioning Morgan. So she had access to Morgan's Twitter before it was private and then deactivated. So she was able to see all of Morgan's tweets firsthand before they ever disappeared.
Trisha also live streamed another video on Facebook the exact same day that Morgan's tweet started getting attention, and screenshots were being posted online, which was on September 13th, 2021.
I'm not even sure what point Mysterious was trying to make with this. Was she trying to insinuate that Trisha's Facebook Live video, titled Boyfriend Prank Gone Horribly Wrong, was some kind of secret signal for people to start taking more notice of Morgan's tweets? I mean, seriously, what kind of connection was Mysterious trying to make between this Facebook Live video and more people noticing Morgan's tweets? It doesn't even make sense. Now that we've gone through the Facebook conspiracy, here's a couple other instances of Mysterious doing mental gymnastics so she can make the stretch that Trisha and Morgan were secretly working together.
So hear me out. There's a couple of things I found really strange in this text message, and I want to point them out to you guys. And this can be nothing, but I look at details so closely, which is why I notice shit like this all the time. So the first thing is...
Oh, she's so detail orientated.
After Morgan's father said that's an odd question at 8 a.m., Morgan replies, Trisha Paytas is famous now, and she outed him for being a creep. And her father responds with, oh. Morgan is talking about Trisha like her father is immediately supposed to know who she is. She didn't say there's a girl in my school named Trisha Paytas who is now famous. She just said Trisha Paytas is famous now, which to me seems like she knows her dad should know the name Trisha Paytas. And because she is telling him that she is famous now, that tells me he doesn't know the name from Trisha being famous. So how I interpret that is Trisha and Morgan were possibly friends in school, which is why Morgan didn't go into many details about Trisha to her father in those text messages. Her father didn't respond back with, well, who is that? Or I don't remember her. He just responded with, oh. So why that detail is important is because if they were friends in school, then they may be in communication with each other over the years, or even recently, and both Trisha and Morgan acted like they haven't spoken to each other since middle school.
Mysterious, interpreting Morgan's dad saying the word oh was possible proof that Trisha and Morgan were working together, is preposterous. I'm surprised Mysterious didn't pull a muscle with that kind of stretch. There's nothing abnormal about a parent remembering the name of someone their kid went to school with. It's not some spectacularly strange phenomenon. To further prove just how disingenuous Mysterious...
Girl, if I ask my mum, do you remember who Lauren Clements is? She'll go, oh yeah. The girl who went to prom with the black eye. Like, it doesn't mean that they know the ins and outs of who this person is. They just recall that person. What the f*** is this? My goodness.
Was being with this argument, Mysterious repeatedly pushed the narrative that everyone in small towns knows everything about everyone.
If you don't live in a small town, you probably won't understand this, but in small towns, everyone knows everyone's business.
So Mysterious thinks everyone in a small town should know everything about everyone, but also thinks it's suspicious that Morgan's dad knows Trisha's name. Make it make sense. Also, Mysterious...
It's either one or the other, bitch. Make it make sense.
Said that Morgan's dad saying, oh, was recognition that he knows Trisha's name, but ignored the fact that it also indicated that her dad was not surprised at hearing Mr. R was a creep, which could...
Sam B just says, what I find the most weird is that she came out of nowhere, did all this, and then disappeared again. Like, who is this bitch? Here's the thing. She came out, did all of this, and she didn't disappear. She continued to make content. It's just that nobody watched it, and then she ended up deleting it. That's what ended up happening. And then she just sat down on live streams every so often talking about Trisha Paytas to make sure that a AdSense check was collected. That was all that it was, girl. She was continuing to make content, just nobody gave a unless it was about Trisha.
Be seen as further proof that Morgan's dad remembers the creepy reason he was fired.
The other thing about this text that makes me question things is Morgan's response back to her father when she says, she got it wrong. She said that he was charged with CP, and I said, nope, I thought I was right. Read that again to yourself. I said, nope, I thought I was right. She is saying the sentence, I said, nope, which sounds like she was directly responding to Trisha at some point and told her, nope, he wasn't arrested for CP. He was fired for watching P.
What? What? The verbiage that she used didn't mean that she was in direct communication with Trisha. Just as in, like, and I said, no, it was this. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Another huge stretch made by Mysterious. Morgan was just describing what literally happened. Trisha publicly said that Mr. R was arrested. And Morgan publicly told people on Twitter that no, he was fired. When Morgan said, I thought I was right, she obviously wasn't saying that she said that directly to Trisha. She was clearly saying it to her dad, as a response to him having just told her that he remembers Mr. R being fired for watching P on his computer at school while children were in the classroom. Any other interpretation is conspiratorial and borders on delusional.
Like I said, it could be nothing, and it could be just Morgan wording the text weird, but I'm already thinking in my head that Trisha and Morgan had contact with each other before Morgan even came forward. Again, this is just my speculation. Use your own judgment. It's a small detail, but just something to keep in mind.
I just want to remind you that Mysterious never showed one single piece of evidence that showed Trisha and Morgan ever had any kind of contact with each other on social media or had ever even followed each other on any platform. Also, here's how you know Mysterious really was just flinging shit at the wall to see what sticks. If Mysterious thought Trisha and Morgan were friends in middle school and have kept in touch over the years, like Mysterious literally just said a couple minutes prior, then why would she think Trisha would need to go on Facebook and post a get ready with me in Vegas video to try to catch the attention of her middle school classmates, in hopes one would reach out to her so she could ask them to lie for her? If her and Morgan were in contact throughout the years, then wouldn't she have just simply messaged Morgan instead? Mysterious couldn't even keep her own conspiracies from conflicting with each other. She was literally just saying anything she could to try to discredit Morgan. It didn't even matter if it made sense, or if it conflicted with the other bullshit she was peddling. Before I move on from showing some of the different ways Mysterious tried to get people to think Trisha and Morgan were in cahoots, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge again that Mysterious created an entirely fake timeline, so she could push a conspiracy theory in an effort to try to discredit a victim of CSA. Let that sink in for a minute. She fabricated a timeline, tampered with screenshots, and knowingly told lies in order to discredit Morgan, someone who had been touched inappropriately by her teacher when she was just a child. What kind of person can do that to someone? How sick does one have to be to fabricate an entirely false timeline to try to convince people not to believe a victim of CSA? It's one of the most reprehensible things I've ever seen on YouTube. During a live stream on September 16, 2021, Mysterious said she DM'd Morgan. After Morgan briefly reactivated her account, Mysterious said she told Morgan she wouldn't share any of their DMs. And 10 days later, on September 26th, Mysterious reiterated that she wasn't sharing the DMs. But then, a few weeks later, on October 15th, Mysterious completely changed her story and said Morgan gave her permission to share DMs.
I did talk to Morgan. I told her I wouldn't share any DMs or anything. She disappeared. And then she came back to like put a thing on her Twitter, and then she deleted it again, which when she came back to put the thing on their Twitter, I talked to her a little bit in DMs, and I'm not going to show DMs or anything like that. You guys can take that with a grain of salt because I'm not going to show the DMs.
And I did talk to Morgan in DMs because she came back for a short period of time and put her account on private before disappearing again. And she did say it was okay for me to share some of this info as long as I kept it private, which I have redacted all of her info in this video.
Morgan had already left for good by the time Mysterious told her viewers on September 16th that she couldn't share her DMs with Morgan because she told Morgan she wouldn't share any of them. Considering Morgan had already disappeared for good at that point, how did Mysterious get permission from Morgan sometime after September 26th to share their DMs on October 15th, considering there wasn't even any way for Mysterious to contact Morgan? Another thing I want to point out is that when Morgan briefly reactivated her account so she could update her Twitter bio to ask people to leave her alone, that means Mysterious DM'd Morgan, knowing damn well that Morgan wanted to be left alone. Here's a clip you just listened to, where Mysterious even referenced Morgan coming back to update her Twitter bio to say she wanted to be left alone.
She disappeared. And then she came back to like put a thing on her Twitter, and then she deleted it again, which when she came back to put the thing on their Twitter, I talked to her a little bit in DMs.
Notice how Mysterious made sure to leave out what the bio actually said, because of how inappropriate it was for Mysterious to have DM'd Morgan after Morgan came back, specifically, to ask people to leave her alone. And keep in mind that prior to messaging Morgan, Mysterious had already been using at least
Adams, a message says, like uploading nearly 9 hours of content on one woman in a 4-month time frame just proves that she was beyond insane and will literally do anything to attack people who argue with Shane and Trisha. Just so happened to be a big topic for views on YouTube at that time, literally just farming people's trauma for money. I 100% agree. And I also think that, like, we're also forgetting the hours and hours of live stream that she did. Because we're just talking about like the videos that are available on her channel. We're not even talking about the hours and hours of live stream that she's deleted from her channel or privatized from her channel or unlisted from her channel. There was so much content that this girl was getting from, and people were donating big, girl. People were donating like $50, $100. People were donating big in these live streams. So she was making a lot of money. And I'm sorry, when something like that happens, call me cynical, but that incentivizes you to make this go on for as long as it needs to. That's my humble opinion. It incentivizes some people to do that.
Least one of her platforms to urge people not to trust Morgan, so she was contributing to the harassment Morgan was receiving and still had the nerve to DM Morgan, a CSA victim she was actively trying to discredit, when Morgan had explicitly asked to be left alone. That's sickening. And on top of that, it appears she DM'd Morgan under the guise that it was a private conversation that she wouldn't publicly share, and then she shared it anyway. In another act of bad faith, Mysterious selectively shared only the DMs from Morgan that Mysterious thought she could spin to fit the narrative she was pushing. Mysterious cherry-picked 2 of Morgan's messages, and those are the only 2 messages from Morgan that Mysterious showed. Here they are, along with the manipulative way Mysterious framed them.
Morgan is talking about Trisha like her father is immediately supposed to know who she is, which to me seems like she knows her dad should know the name Trisha Paytas. So how I interpret that is Trisha and Morgan were possibly friends in school. Her father didn't respond back with, well, who is that? Or I don't remember her. He just responded with, oh. So why that detail is important is because if they were friends in school, then they may be in communication with each other over the years, or even recently, and both Trisha and Morgan acted like they haven't spoken to each other since middle school. Morgan actually told me she barely remembers Trisha in the school when I spoke to her in DMs. So I just thought that detail was interesting.
So Mysterious selectively cherry-picked this message from Morgan and portrayed it as Morgan lying about not having spoken to Trisha since middle school. And
okay, let's read this. There's I guess Mysterious said, yes, people go to crazy levels, especially with this stuff. I can't talk on the phone right now, but I can on my lunch break or later this evening. So I guess she may have had a phone number, which could potentially be another way that Mysterious was able to contact her, considering she had left social media, I guess. But here we have number 1. See, this is how you correct information, just so you guys are aware. Earlier on in this video, this dramatology person says, how would they have been able to get in touch with Morgan? And because obviously Mysterious has posted, yes, people go to crazy levels with this stuff, I can't talk on the phone right now, it could possibly be that earlier on in the conversation that Morgan had given this woman her number. Crazy thing to do for this crazy bitch, but I digress. But see how I picked that up? That the story could possibly make sense in one direction, regardless of whether it affects the way that I feel when it comes to Trisha Paytas in this story. Do you see the way that I pointed that out to you guys as the audience, that actually this may not be the way it was portrayed to us? Do you see how easy it was for me to pick that up and alert you guys immediately? That's how you do it. So Morgan responded with, one, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that I got this right. I misspelled his name, yes, but it's him. There is zero child P from what I remember, and I never claimed that to be true. I initially thought it was 7th grade, but I'm pretty sure it was 6th. Honestly, I have no clue if she was in my class. Don't remember her there, but we had him as a teacher. It was a couple of years after this, I believe, again, remembering from 20 years ago. I remember the highlights, just not all the details. So that's the screenshot it is that she showed up for a brief moment.
And of course, Mysterious was basing that off her own bad faith interpretation that Morgan's dad saying, oh, was some kind of proof that Morgan and Trisha were friends in middle school and have been in contact with each other over the years. The reality of that DM is not that Mysterious debunked Morgan, saying she hasn't spoken to Trisha since middle school. The actual
Bye, Sally. Have a great stream.
Actual reality of that DM is that Morgan debunked Mysterious' conspiracy theory by confirming she had not been in contact with Trisha. Mysterious was clearly acting in bad faith with the way she framed that DM from Morgan. Another thing, Mysterious didn't even acknowledge the part of Morgan's DM where Morgan was saying she's 100% certain that Mr. R was fired for watching P on his computer at school while children were in the classroom. Mysterious was literally just selectively picking the parts that she thought she could spin to fit her narrative. Here's the other DM that Mysterious selectively shows.
Specifically asked Morgan if she heard anything about Trisha and teachers at her school, any rumors or allegations.
Okay, one question. Did you ever hear anything about him doing anything to Trisha? She specifically said she talked to the school and students and reported it. I'm assuming rumors spread around in this school quite easily since it's small. Or did you hear any other rumors about any other teachers with her? Thanks for the info on this too. I appreciate it. Morgan responded with, no, I didn't. I didn't hear any rumors about her or other teachers. If they went around, then since I've forgotten. So
Against Mr. R or any other teachers, and Morgan replied with the following. No, I didn't, and I didn't hear any rumors about her and other teachers. If they went around, I've since forgotten. Given all the stories that Trisha has told in regards to this teacher, don't you think this rumor would have been everywhere at Byron?
So Mysterious is framing Morgan, not remembering, hearing a rumor about Mr. R, touching Trisha specifically, as though it's proof that it never happened. Imagine trying to convince people that because someone said they can't remember if they heard a rumor about someone else's essay 20 years prior, that it's proof the essay didn't happen. Mysterious had no shame whatsoever. When I look at this DM from Morgan, what I see is that Mysterious was clearly wrong about Morgan's motives. Mysterious wanted everyone to believe that Morgan was just lying for Trisha, but if that were the case, wouldn't Morgan have told Mysterious that yes, she does remember hearing rumors about Trisha and Mr. R? Wouldn't that have been Morgan's entire purpose in this situation if her goal was to lie for Trisha? I mean, that's what Mysterious had been trying to convince everyone of. This DM is further proof that Morgan didn't have ulterior motives and was just speaking her own truth, to the best of her recollection, in relation to Mr. R. So those are the only two DMs that Mysterious showed from Morgan. She had the opportunity to ask Morgan any questions she wanted to, and these are what Mysterious chose to show. What is Mysterious hiding? Why didn't she show the whole conversation? The logical conclusion, in my opinion, is that Mysterious must have felt that the rest of what Morgan had to say would have hurt the narrative Mysterious was trying to push, rather than help it, so she just didn't share it. For example, it's hard to believe that Mysterious wouldn't have asked Morgan about her saying Mr. R touched her and others inappropriately. It's actually unimaginable that Mysterious wouldn't have asked about that. It leads me to believe that Morgan's answer must have further expanded on him being a creep. Mysterious was actively trying to discredit Morgan, a victim of CSA.
I want the receipts. I want the receipts, girl. I want the receipts. Redact names, redact whatever it is that needs to be redacted. I want to see the receipts. I want to see that whole motherfucking conversation, girl. Because I don't trust you not one bit. I want to see the whole goddamn thing.
Urging people not to believe her, was inciting harassment against her, DM'd her, knowing she wanted to be left alone, falsely told her she wouldn't be sharing any of their DMs, and then publicly shared some of them anyway, but selectively cherry-picked only the responses that she thought she could spin in such a way that would help further discredit Morgan, and left everything else out. That's so unethical that it's horrendous. Mysterious has said she goes by facts, not rumors and speculation.
That's what I do. I heavily rely on facts, receipts, proof, documentation, not speculation and rumors everywhere.
Not only did Mysterious rely very heavily on speculation, rumors, and conspiracies, some of which she even created herself, but she also went as far as to use a lack of rumors as evidence against victims of CSA.
There is no way that there wasn't like one rumor about this teacher doing this. You got to understand when stuff like this happens in schools, there's rumors everywhere. There is rumors everywhere. People would have known about this and it would have followed this teacher to the other schools that he taught at. It would have. How in the hell did nobody hear this rumor?
Not only is it disgusting to insinuate that there's a threshold of rumors that must be met to be believable, but Mysterious doesn't even have any way of knowing how many people had or hadn't heard about Mr. R touching someone inappropriately. So even though Mysterious wasn't even privy to that kind of information, she still used it as a way to try to cast doubt on victims. Mysterious couldn't even remain consistent on her stance in regard to rumors. She flip-flopped around, depending on whatever suited her narrative the best in that moment. For instance, when multiple verifiable former students, plus the chief of police, all said they remember Mr. R being fired, Mysterious didn't treat that as evidence of anything. But when Morgan said she couldn't remember if she had heard any rumors about Trisha being touched inappropriately, suddenly that was enough proof to cast doubt. Mysterious chose to concoct her own rumors and speculations about Morgan, and had a one-sided debate against Morgan's tweets, despite having had the opportunity to address her speculations, questions, and rumors directly with Morgan. I want to close out part 1 of this series by pointing out that Mysterious used Mr. R not being a public figure as another way to condemn Trisha. Morgan wasn't a public figure either. She's someone who bravely came forward as a victim of CSA, and Mysterious helped run her off the internet and used her public platform to knowingly manipulate thousands of people with lies, rumors, and speculation into calling for justice for the person who assaulted Morgan as a child. She even seemingly tampered with screenshots and fabricated a false timeline of events in order to do so, among so many other things. Keep your eyes peeled for part 2 because this story is far from over. I'm just getting started, and I still have a long list of mysterious lies and manipulation to expose in regard to her videos pertaining to the situation involving Mr. R. I also want to thank everyone for watching. Make sure to stay tuned, because you better believe I have a whole lot more receipts on the way. I'll see you in the next video.
That was so well done. Dramatology. That was so well done. It sucks that it was AI, only because I know that people's brains are going to tune out, but I think what I'm going to do, because I need this to be amplified. I need this to be amplified. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this live stream on my main channel of my reaction to this. I think that that's what we're going to do. Because this video right here, this shit right here needs to be amplified. Because what Mysterious has done is reprehensible, is disgusting, all because she didn't like one person. Listen, Trisha Paytas has had their fair share of shenanigans here on the internet. She has been horrendous over the years. Horrendous. I will never go forth and defend that, but I never, ever, ever felt comfortable with the idea that we should disregard her version of events of a CSA that none of us were around for, purely based on people not misremembering information from 20 years ago, or just the fact, just the human ability to be able to understand that that is their story. And we as viewers, we the public, have no right to that story. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this to my main channel. I will definitely give Dramatology their props on this. This needs to be amplified. More people need to hear this story. And I think it's going to not only verify some shit that I obviously made clear in my own video, but also give people the further information that I never even touched on, that I never even knew about. This is a very problematic individual who I believe personally needs to be wiped from the internet. I thought that they were trash before. I now think that they are putrid fucking garbage. And once again, I would like to say a massive thank you to Toon Blast for sponsoring today's video. Remember to click the link in my description box down below, or you can click in the pinned comment, or you can just use this QR code over here.